Warrior Lore. Chapter 2486. The purple-gold heavenly tower appeared in Du Xiaofu's hand, and he slashed it down at Patriarch Zhang Jie. Roar of the Holy Sword. The sword radiance instantly shot out from the purple-gold heavenly tower in his hand. Many complex and profound sword moves finally gathered together. However, it was only a simple slash. The sword radiance instantly spread out with the speed of lightning. It was a simple slash, but it contained the power to move mountains and seas. It was enough to shake mountains and rivers, shatter heaven and earth, and destroy everything. The moment the sword projection appeared, it shone with a blinding golden light, and layers of purple-gold light bloomed. Dazzling purple-gold talisman runes bloomed, and its aura was intimidating. The brilliance of the sword projection filled heaven and earth, and it whistled through the air like a dragon soaring into the sky. Hidden beneath its brilliance was a terrifying destructive power. Arrogant brat, since you want to die, I'll grant you your wish. Incinerate the universe. Patriarch Feng San roared as he flapped his wings. Flames filled the sky, and the scorching heat rose above the ancient city, causing the temperature of the entire battlefield to soar. It was as if the entire battlefield was placed on a stove. Wherever the flames passed, the void was burned to the point of collapse. Terrifying spatial cracks spread in all directions, as if they were going to swallow everything. At the same time, Patriarch Zhang Jie also attacked. The loud cry of an eagle resounded in the sky above the ancient city, and a huge eagle claw tore countless holes in the void. Patriarch Zhang Jie's eagle claw tore through the void as if it were made of divine metal. It glowed with a cold light, and he grabbed at the sword projection without dodging. At the same time, Patriarch Feng San's flames also arrived and collided with the dazzling sword projection. Chi chi chi, the powerful met, and the violent energy collided in an instant, turning into a series of talisman runes that scattered in all directions above the ancient city, stirring up a storm. Du Xiaofu was knocked back 1,000 feet, and he only managed to stabilize himself after flapping his golden wings. He was unscathed. He was fighting 1 against 2, and he was not at a disadvantage. Ancestor Feng San and Ancestor Zhang Jie both retreated 30 meters. They looked at the young man in front of them and exchanged glances. They could see the seriousness in each other's eyes. They were shocked in their hearts. How could they have thought that this brat was actually powerful to such an extent? The two of them joining hands actually couldn't take him down. This scene attracted the attention of all the living beings in the vicinity. Bullying the young with numbers, bullying the young with age. How shameless. The Howling Moon ancestor of the Howling Heaven Demonic Lion clan said. His lion fur fluttered in the wind, and his deep voice shook the clouds. Little friend, this old man is here to help you. As he spoke, the giant demonic lion flew across the sky toward Ancestor Feng San. Howling Moon, your opponent is me. The Dragon Desolation ancestor let out a resounding dragon roar and stopped the Howling Moon ancestor. His dragon body that was like a mountain range that lay across the sky moved with vigor and strength, and it pressed down upon the sky to the point it rumbled and trembled. Aunt Xiaoqing, Uncle Little Tiger, we're here. Just as everyone was talking, 2 childish voices rang out in the sky above the ancient city. Immediately after, a dozen figures walked out of the spatial rift. These people were Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, General, Ghostchild, Gu Xinyan, and the others who were slightly later than Du Xiaofu. As soon as they arrived, they joined the battle and helped the Bai Fong clan deal with the distant Sky Flame Phoenix clan, the Gulan Heavenly Eagle clan, the 8 Desolation Demon Dragon clan, and the others. The strength of these dozen people were all above the Saint Realm. Among them, there was also Du Xiaoba and Little Qilin, these 2 ferocious fellows that couldn't be judged by common sense. The addition of this wave of new forces caused the situation of the entire battlefield to change greatly in an instant. Kill. The Little Qilin's tender voice reverberated, and its small body moved back and forth on the battlefield. With a wave of its little claws, large patches of lightning flashed, and countless creatures with weaker cultivations were struck down. Du Xiaoba was like a ferocious beast in human form. As his little fists danced, terrifying energy surged out. The experts in the early stage of the Saint Realm could not withstand a single blow from him. They were all blasted into smithereens in the void. General, Ghostchild, and Gu Xinyan worked together to hold back an expert in the middle stage of the Saint Realm. Guo Xiaofeng, Black Eagle, Tang Wu, Dongli Diao, Lin Weiqi, Wu Kei, Bai Mingfeng, and Li Yuxiao also made their moves and destroyed the overall advantage of the enemy. The Baifeng Divine Bird Clan and the other clans, who were originally at a disadvantage, suddenly turned their situation around. Their overall strength was on par with the enemy's. This scene made Patriarch Feng San's face twitch. His expression was very ugly. He turned to Patriarch Cruel Warrior and said, "You and I will work together to deal with this kid. As for the rest, kill with all your might. Don't let anyone go." A bad feeling rose in Patriarch Cruel Warrior's heart. They had come prepared, and all the clans had come out in full force. They could have been invincible. They could have killed the Baifeng Divine Bird Clan, the Dark Sky Tiger Clan, the Howling Moon Lion Clan, and the other clans and taken over the Beast King mountain range. At this moment, the appearance of Du Xiaofu's group caused the final outcome to become complicated and confusing. "Du Xiaofu, today, I will kill you," Patriarch Feng San shouted. He spread his wings and pounced on Du Xiaofu. "Fight!" Du Xiaofu shouted. Without wasting any more time, he moved his fingers and formed a series of complicated hand seals. As the hand seals were formed, the purple lightning talisman runes on his body swept out. They complemented the golden wings of the rock behind him, making him look like a real golden-winged rock. He exuded a terrifying aura. The lightning martial vein covered Du Xiaofu's body in an instant. Lightning intertwined and thunder clouds spread out. The heaven and earth vision spread out, causing the space to boil and the ancient city to shake. Many people were stunned. The young man who looked like a real rock exuded an ancient and mysterious aura. His power was shocking. Lightning circled around him, and golden light shone out. It was as if a saint had appeared, causing all the living beings present to feel suffocated. The golden light shone brightly as the lightning martial vein covered Du Xiaofu's body. A domineering, murderous aura rippled through the sky. An aura that caused one's soul to tremble filled the air, and a majestic supremacy's aura spread across the sky. "Kill!" Patriarch Cruel Warrior and Patriarch Feng San shouted at the same time. The cries of the phoenixes shook the mountains and rivers. A sea of fire spread out from Patriarch Feng San's body and surged toward Du Xiaofu. The terrifying flames burned everything, and the space was distorted by the heat. Patriarch Cruel Warrior's body rippled. As his giant wings swept across, two terrifying cracks appeared in the void. It was like a dark abyss, and a terrifying and eerie aura fluctuated. Du Xiaofu activated the 8 trigrams ultimacy. Qin, Kuren, Zhan, Sun, Kan, Li, Jin, and Dui. The 8 directions connected and turned into a dazzling divine ring, making him look like a holy spirit in the sky. A strange aura spread out. It was like the water in the sea, able to bear everything. When the wind was calm, it made people yearn for it. It was vast and could nourish all living beings. However, if it was a violent storm, it would cause raging waves and destroy everything in its way. Chapter 2487. Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed as the 8 trigrams around him came crashing down, enveloping Ancestor Feng San and Ancestor Zhanjie within. The awe-inspiring pressure was mighty and pervasive. Layers of thunderclouds gathered and appeared above the void 8 trigrams. Heaven above and earth below. Heavenly thunder, absolute destruction. Du Xiaofu roared. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled beneath the 8 trigrams. Dazzling runes intertwined to form a giant net of lightning that stretched across the universe. An aura of extreme yang swept across the area, directly suppressing Ancestor Feng San and Ancestor Zhanjie's attacks. "Break!" Ancestor Feng San roared. Flames surged wildly as the void was annihilated. Terrifying energy surged out, heading straight for the giant net of lightning. Ancestor Zhanjie flapped his wings. His iron-like wings glinted coldly as they pierced through the void, carrying with them a powerful aura. It was as if he wanted to cut heaven and earth in half. Boom, boom, boom. Flames and condor wings bombarded the giant net of lightning at the same time. The moment the three terrifying energies collided, they instantly exploded. Dense runes and runes surged out in all directions like a flock of sea snakes leaving their nest. They eroded the void, creating a terrifying black hole that seemed capable of swallowing everything. The three people at the center of the energy surged with energy as they retreated, avoiding this terrifying area. As they retreated, Du Xiaofu's hand seals continued to form. Invisible ripples of power rippled out from his hands. The 8 trigrams in the void continued to expand with him as the center. The 8 trigrams evolved, changed, and derived. Earth above and earth below. Earth fire bright destruction. As Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed, billowing flames spurted out from the void under his feet. It was like a sea of fire rising, intertwining with the lightning, entangling and fusing, converging into an even more powerful attack. Brat, this old man is here to kill you. Ancestor Feng San flew up and charged into the sea of lightning and fire. Endless flames spewed out from the body of the 8 trigrams in the sky, isolating it from the killing power of the 8 trigrams. The phoenix's tail floated in the air, dragging terrifying flames behind it. Berserk energy fluctuations swept towards Du Xiaofu. Upper chin and lower DUI, heavenly blessing trigram breakthrough. Du Xiaofu's handprint changed again. In the sea of thunder and fire, mountains and lakes appeared. Endless earth collapsed and directly blocked Ancestor Feng San's attack. Heaven above and earth below, heavenly fire destruction. Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed again. In the rolling thunderclouds above, a bright light suddenly appeared, piercing through the layers of clouds and pouring down. Immediately after, torrential flames surged and once again intertwined with the lightning, earth fire, and mountains and lakes. For a time, lightning stars constantly appeared in the void of this world. There were surging flames, moving mountains and rivers, and roaring waves. The void was collapsing, and the aura of destruction enveloped this area of the world. The earth quaked and the mountains swayed as the world resonated with it. It was vast and mighty, and the resplendent symbols were like an ocean that gave rise to tempestuous waves. Mysterious underworld flowing space / kill. Ancestor Cruel War's huge wings slashed and 2 beams of light shot out. They were like 2 chilling weapons that swiftly and violently destroyed everything in their path. The huge ancient wave, Heavenly Condor, followed the 2 beams of light and pounced towards Du Xiaofu's 8 trigrams in the sky. It attacked together with Ancestor Feng San with all its might. Ku! In the sea of thunder and fire, a phoenix cry rang out. The raging flames around Ancestor Feng San suddenly retracted into her body. Then, she opened her phoenix mouth wide and spat out a brilliant beam of fire. It was like a waterfall that pierced through the sky and penetrated the earth, as if it was going to shatter the world. This attack was the most powerful attack that Ancestor Feng San had ever unleashed with all her cultivation. The terrifying beam of light pierced through the void and directly attacked Du Xiaofu. The sea of thunder and fire under the 8 trigrams in the sky retreated under the beam of light, creating a path that reached Du Xiaofu. Suppress it, Du Xiaofu shouted loudly. Lightning flashed in all directions from his eyes. The lightning within the 8 trigrams in the sky rumbled, the sea of fire boiled, and the mountains and rivers trembled. A terrifying aura spread out. It was as if the blue sky was falling, the thick earth was trembling, and the water of the 4 seas was rising into the clouds. Several types of energy of different attributes quickly intertwined and merged with the 8 trigrams in the sky to form an even more powerful attack. Such a terrifying aura permeated the air above the ancient battlefield. Du Xiaofu's purple robes fluttered in the wind as golden light shot out from his body. His figure was illuminated by the lightning and fire, making him look like a deity. He stood in the sky and looked down at the world. The vast aura fluctuated violently and penetrated every inch of space. All the living beings on the battlefield felt that it was difficult to resist. They all stopped fighting and retreated into the distance as they looked on in horror. Boom, 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 boom. The energy of the 8 trigrams in the sky came crashing down and collided with Patriarch Feng San's fiery light beam and Patriarch Zhang Jie's light blade. Instantly, a monstrous storm erupted and swept through the heavens and earth. High up in the sky, the layers of clouds were instantly swept away, revealing the clear blue sky. Under the impact of this energy, countless buildings in the ancient city turned into dust with a muffled hum sound. Some of the mountain ranges in the surroundings were razed to the ground. The land within a radius of several dozen kilometers was completely flat. Mystic symbols danced in the air and swept through the surroundings, covering the entire battlefield. This terrifying battle forced all the spectating living beings to retreat again and again. No one dared to block this attack. At the core of the battle between Du Xiaofu, Patriarch Feng San, and Patriarch Zhang Jie, a gigantic black hole was blasted into the void. It didn't disappear for a long time and exuded a domineering suction force, sucking in everything around it. Patriarch Feng San retreated hundreds of meters away. The flames on his body were extinguished, and his feathers were shattered. His aura was 50% weaker than before. Patriarch Zhang Jie's eagle wing was more than half broken. The light in his eyes dimmed, and his eagle claws were shattered. The sharpness was gone, and blood flowed from them. He was in an extremely sorry state. On the other side, Du Xiaofu's situation was even worse. His robe was ragged, and his golden rock wings had disappeared. The Xin Qi in his divine gate was almost exhausted, and his aura was weak. Terrifying wounds snaked across his body, and his combat strength was reduced by more than 70%. However, under the activation of the indestructible Xian body, the flesh around his wounds wriggled slowly and quickly recovered. Du Xiaofu, how dare you interfere with the important matters of my clan? I'll grind your bones to dust today. Patriarch Feng San gritted his teeth. The hatred in his eyes condensed into 2 sharp swords, and he wanted to cut Du Xiaofu into pieces. As the patriarch of the distant Sky Flame Phoenix clan and an expert in the perfected Holy Beast realm, he had been invincible for his entire life. It was difficult for him to find a worthy opponent. When had he ever suffered such a great loss? Originally, he wanted to take over the Beast King mountain range and become the leader of the Beast Alliance. Victory was within his grasp. However, who would have thought that the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, would suddenly appear out of nowhere and create a huge obstacle in his plan? Even the final outcome was uncertain. How could Patriarch Feng San not hate him so much? Chapter 2488. Shameless old man, come and kill me if you dare. Do you only know how to boast? I don't think you have the upper hand even when the 2 of you are fighting me alone. Du Xiaofu said with a cold grin while wiping the blood on his lips. He did not show any sign of fear in his words. At this time, countless living beings in the distant sky had already stopped fighting. Their eyes were fixed on Du Xiaofu, Ancestor Feng San, and Ancestor Zhang Jie. How long has it been since the Beast Alliance meeting? This Du Xiaofu's strength has become so terrifying. He's able to hold his ground against 2 progenitors at the same time. How terrifying. The Demon King truly lives up to his name. Can the Rock Emperor turn the tables around and eliminate the threat to our tribe? The crowd was discussing and exclaiming. Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, and Du Xiaohu were standing in the air. Their eyes were bright, and there was a strange fluctuation in their eyes. Meanwhile, General, Ghostchild, Gu Xinyan, Gua Xiaofeng, and the others were utterly astounded. Their faces were filled with wry smiles. That young man, who was about the same age as them, had been progressing triumphantly all these years, leaving them far behind. And now, he was even able to compete with the strongest experts. They could not even catch up to him. The strongest experts had survived since before the tribulation of the heavens and earth. The impact this brought to them was simply too great. Ha 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 ha. Feng San, Long Huang, Zhang Jie, aren't you going to conquer the Beast King mountain range and become the leader of the Beast Alliance? Is this all you've got? Among the crowd, the Howling Moon progenitor of the Howling Demonic Lions burst out laughing. Du Xiaofu's sudden appearance had changed the tide of the battle. The Howling Moon progenitor was relieved. While the Howling Moon progenitor was impressed that he was able to fight against two progenitors on his own, he also lamented in his heart, "The younger generation will surpass us in time." Du Xiaofu did not feel too happy when he heard the crowd's praises. At this moment, he was silently calculating in his heart. With his current strength, he was indeed capable of contending with the likes of Patriarch Feng San and Patriarch Zhang Jie of the older generation. However, it was not easy to kill them. Moreover, he was not confident that he could do it when Feng San and Zhang Jie worked together. If they could not kill them, the Baifeng Divine Bird, Dark Sky Tiger, Roaring Sky Demonic Lion, and other clans would still be in danger. If he could only stop Feng San and Zhang Jie, he would not be able to change the outcome of the battle. Even if the rebellion could be eliminated in the end, the Baifeng Divine Bird and the other clans would still suffer great losses. Many people would die here. Looks like I have to fight with my life on the line. Du Xiaofu sighed. He glanced at Feng San and stopped at Zhang Jie. He squinted and his lips curled into a bloodthirsty smile. If he fought them head-on, he would not be able to do anything to them. However, if he could catch them off guard, since he was already involved in this mess, he had to finish what he started. The Baifeng Divine Birds were close to him. The dark heavenly tigers, howling demonic lions, and other races were beasts. They all respected his little Qilin, so they were his people. There was no reason for him to sit back and do nothing. Speaking of which, he had an irreconcilable feud with the Sky Flame Phoenix, 8 Desolation Demonic Dragon, Gulen Sky Condor, and other races. Ancestor Feng San and Ancestor Zhang Jie both narrowed their eyes when they saw Du Xiaofu's expression. That brat was clearly heavily injured, much more so than the two of them, but for some reason, they felt their hearts palpitate. The two of them looked at each other and saw the heaviness in each other's eyes. So what if you bully him with numbers? As long as we can kill this kid, that would be the best outcome. In the distance, Dragon Baron Ancestor snorted and charged toward Du Xiaofu. The 8 Desolation Demonic Dragon's body twisted and turned, causing the void to tremble. Don't forget, Dragon Baron, I am your opponent. Roar. Howling Moon Ancestor stomped on the void. The slender demonic lion's fur trembled. With a roar, heaven and earth shook. The space in front of Dragon Baron Ancestor collapsed, blocking his path. The two Ancestor-level figures were once again locked in a fierce battle. Kill. Feng San's eyes narrowed. Flames rose from her body again, and she charged toward Du Xiaofu. Cruel War Ancestor was not willing to fall behind. His wings stirred up endless wind and clouds, and his sharp claws slashed down. Fight! This time, Du Xiaofu stood still and slowly raised his fist. The remaining celestial qi in his body was squeezed out in an instant and surged toward his limbs and bones. The golden rock wings flapped behind him. In the dazzling golden light, an indescribable aura spread out from his body. At the same time, the azure spirit armor was summoned. It flowed with a bright light and covered his body. When Ancestor Feng San and Ancestor Zhang Jie were only 500 feet away from him, the golden light around Du Xiaofu's body suddenly surged, and he disappeared from the spot. At the same time, a ball of golden light exploded in front of Cruel War Ancestor. A ferocious fist punched out from the golden light. This punch was extremely domineering. It landed on Cruel War Ancestor's chest without any resistance. Boom! Bloody mist appeared. Cruel War Ancestor's chest was smashed into pieces. Feathers flew everywhere. From the moment Du Xiaofu disappeared to the moment the fist landed, there was not the slightest gap in time. When Cruel War Ancestor reacted, he tried to block it, but it was too late. He took the full brunt of the attack. Cruel War Ancestor's body was sent flying. However, right after the punch, Du Xiaofu's figure charged out from the ball of golden light. He waved his hand and a huge palm print appeared in the air and snatched one of Cruel War Ancestor's claws. At the same time, his other hand reached out and grabbed the other claw. Celestial qi surged and a vast amount of energy condensed into a giant figure. It exploded from Feng San's body like a giant that could split heaven and earth apart. The giant held a claw in each hand. Then, he suddenly spread his arms outward. With a ripping sound, blood rained down like rain. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. The giant ancient wave, Heavenly Condor's body was torn in half. This change, from beginning to end, only happened in a short instant. It was only after Patriarch Cruel Warrior's death that Patriarch Feng San finally reacted. Du Xiaofu, I'm going to kill you, Feng San roared. He was so angry that his hair stood on end. Flames spread out and burned everything around him. He never thought that this kid would be so cunning. He vanished right in front of Patriarch Zhangjie, and when he reappeared, Patriarch Zhangjie's chest had been smashed to pieces with a single punch. Patriarch Zhangjie was deader than dead. Chapter 2489. Ancestor Feng San recognized Du Xiaofu's strange technique. It was exactly the same as Patriarch Zhangjie's sudden appearance when he was trying to kill little Tiger Du. He didn't travel through space and didn't cause any disturbances. He didn't even feel the passage of time between his disappearance and his reappearance. Such a strange technique was so unpredictable that it was impossible to guard against it. Caught off guard, Patriarch Zhangjie did not even have the time to scream before his chest was smashed open and torn to shreds. He died on the spot. Ancestor Feng San knew that if he had faced that ferocious punch head-on, he wouldn't have been able to escape unscathed. After killing Patriarch Zhangjie, Du Xiaofu's entire body was drenched in a rain of blood. The scarlet blood had congealed into clumps on his hair and dripped down along the top. Du Xiaofu leisurely turned around, and his face turned into a big red and white flowery face. He grinned, and his 2 rows of big white teeth glowed with a cold light. It was horrifying. Upon seeing this, Ancestor Feng San, who was in a rage, made his move. His figure, which was originally rushing forward, froze in the void. Then, he turned back and the blazing flames on his body surged again. Another bright beam of light was spat out from his mouth and shot toward Du Xiaofu. The beam of light pierced through heaven and earth. It was as if a deity had raised a sword and pierced forward. It instantly tore through everything in its path and tore a terrifying hole in the void. Boundless energy condensed into a sharp ray of light on the beam of light. It contained a power that could pierce through heaven and earth. When the bright beam of light appeared, the entire world seemed to darken. The sky above the shattered ancient city changed color in an instant. The creatures watching from afar felt their hair stand on end. No one doubted the power of this attack. Killing Patriarch Zhangjie had already depleted Du Xiaofu's remaining Xian Qi. Facing Ancestor Feng San's terrifying attack, he didn't have the strength to face it. The blue spirit armor on his body was still glowing, and the immortal Xian body was quickly recovering. But all of this was no match for Ancestor Feng San's all-out attack. In a moment of crisis, Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit moved slightly and summoned the purple-gold heavenly fault. The wide sword hurriedly blocked in front of his chest. Boom! The pillar of light hit the purple-gold heavenly palace without any obstruction. A loud bang resounded through the world. A terrifying shockwave spread out, and the entire ancient city began to shake violently. A sea of fire swept out, covering the sky and covering the sun. Within a radius of 100 li, rivers boiled, mountains cracked, and the universe was purged. Du Xiaofu was sent flying with a single strike. His body was like a stone that had been thrown out, and it streaked through the air before falling into the distant horizon. It gradually withered, lonely and helpless. Kill! Ancestor Feng San shouted. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he flapped his wings and chased after Du Xiaofu. Kill him while he's down. That kid was already an arrow at the end of its flight, and it was time to kill him. Such a great opportunity must not be missed. Terrifying raging flames surged. Ancestor Feng San's wings fluttered in the air as he streaked across the sky at an extremely fast speed. He chased after Du Xiaofu, who was still in midair. His vigorous phoenix claws grabbed down, directly trapping the purple-robed figure and the broad broadsword within them. Light burst out from the phoenix claws like the scorching sun, and a huge force spread out in an instant, as if it wanted to crush Du Xiaofu into meat paste. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The blue spirit armor collapsed, and the immortal Xian body was collapsing. His flesh and bones were being squeezed, and there was a creaking sound that made one's teeth ache. Faint golden blood gathered into a stream and flowed down between the phoenix claws. Du Xiaofu's body was squeezed into a ball, and he was as weak as a chick. At this time, he had no power to resist. Father, brother, third young master, Uncle Xiaofu, Rock Emperor. In the distance, Du Xiaolin, Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger, Du Xiaoba, Tiger Desolation Patriarch, and the others all cried out, their eyes about to split open. Howling Moon Patriarch, Elder Jiao Xie, Patriarch Jiao Huang, General, Ghost Child, Gu Xinyan, and the others did not think as they all tore through the sky, wanting to save Du Xiaofu from Ancestor Feng San. Stop them! The Dragon Desolation Patriarch shouted, and the body of the 8 Desolation Demon Dragon was the first to rush out, blocking the Howling Moon Patriarch. Hearing this, the rest of the experts on the side of the Sky Flame Phoenix, 8 Desolation Demon Dragon, Gu Lan Heavenly Eagle, and the others all moved together, stopping everyone from saving Du Xiaofu. Under such circumstances, as long as Ancestor Feng San was not obstructed, then the Demon King would die without a doubt, without any accidents. For a time, the two sides that had stopped fighting once again erupted into an even more tragic battle. Help the Rock Emperor, kill Qi Yin, Bai Ruyan and the others of the Baifeng Divine Bird Tribe. Xiao Gu and the rest of the younger generation of the Howling Demon Lion Tribe yelled in unison and attacked with all their might, trying to tear the enemy's defense apart and lend the Rock Emperor a hand. Even if they could not save him directly, it would be good enough if they could cause some interference to Ancestor Feng San. Those who stand in my way shall die. Among the crowd, Du Xiaoba's body was covered in a golden glow, like a human-shaped golden-winged giant pong. A terrifying energy burst out from his tiny body as he threw out punches, unleashing a ferocious and imperious aura. Some of the mid-sacred beast realm experts could not even survive a single attack from him. Little bastard, die. In the distance, Ancestor Feng San's eyes flickered coldly as she uttered the words through gritted teeth. A vast energy burst out from her body and was transmitted to the sharp claws. When the energy reached its peak, Ancestor Feng San glared at Du Xiaofu and was about to claw him into a pile of minced meat. At this moment, the purple gold heavenly palace on Du Xiaofu's body suddenly moved. Roar! An ancient roar shook the air as if it came from ancient times, carrying an incomparably vast and mysterious aura. The purple gold heavenly palace roared. Vaguely, one could hear the roars of dragons and tigers, as well as the cries of birds and turtles. On the purple gold heavenly palace, bursts of wind and thunder rose and overflowed between Ancestor Feng San's claws. In an instant, the chi of gods and demons rolled out in all directions, and ghosts cried and gods howled. The purple gold heavenly palace shone brightly. Such a ray of light was not conspicuous at first, and there was not much majestic and fierce murderous aura. However, gradually, the light became stronger and brighter, and soon suppressed the flame between Ancestor Feng San's claws. The light continued to increase sharply, breaking out from the sharp claws. It was constantly enlarging, extending, and condensing into a magnificent sword light that could cut through heaven and earth. Du Xiaofu's figure also broke free from the phoenix claws and flew along with the sword light. The aura on his body was no longer as weak as before, and there was a strange fluctuation lingering around him. Du Xiaofu reached out and grasped the sword light in his hand. The power rose to the sky and suppressed everything. His aura was like that of a god descending to the world, as if he was going to split heaven and earth. The second sword of the void splitting 3 swords, emptiness between heaven and earth. Du Xiaofu's faint words came out of his mouth and resounded between heaven and earth. Then, he slashed down with the sword. Chapter 2490. Du Xiaofu stepped on the void, holding the towering sword light in his hand like a god. This sword was simple and direct, without any fancy moves. It slashed down on Ancestor Feng San's head just like that. The sword light connected the sky and the thick earth, slashing down rapidly, up to the sky and down to the underworld. Wherever the light went, a wide crack appeared in the void, extending all the way to the horizon. Space rippled violently, carrying all matter to the left and right, like the tide, retreating to the sides. In the blink of an eye, it was thousands of miles away, making way for this sword light. The magnificent sword light suppressed everything, and the 9 heavens and 10 lands were cleared in an instant. At this moment, heaven and earth were empty, and there was only one sword. Ancestor Feng San looked up at the sword light, slashing down as if it was splitting the sky and earth. He was greatly shocked. His huge, distant sky flame phoenix body was as small as an ant in front of this sword light. Facing this sword light, he did not have the slightest confidence to face it head-on, and he did not even have the chance to dodge. There was no time to react. After a goo sound came from his throat, torrential flames spewed out from Ancestor Feng San's body, circling around him, forming a blazing fireball. The fireball condensed an incomparably vast amount of energy, forming the strongest defense, and Ancestor Feng San's entire body shrank inside. Boom! The sword light destroyed everything and hit on the fireball. The sword light exploded, and dense runes danced in the sky. The terrifying energy exploded in an instant, and the void was directly annihilated. A black hole appeared, and a strong tearing force swept in all directions, as if to clean up everything between heaven and earth. The mountain range below was shattered by this force, and then sucked in by the black hole. Fortunately, Du Xiaofu and Ancestor Feng San were already far away from the ancient city of the Baifeng clan at this time. Otherwise, under the effect of this force, the entire ancient city would have disappeared in the blink of an eye. Everyone, retreat quickly. Howling Moon Ancestor shouted, and no longer entangled with Ancestor Long Huang. His lion claws waved out a large amount of light, sweeping many of the experts on his side and forcing them to retreat hundreds of miles. Countless living beings flew swiftly and followed closely behind. Like a flock of frightened birds, they fled in panic, not daring to turn back to take a look. At the center of the battle, the enormous black hole surged with energy fluctuations, and a purplish gold lightning suddenly lit up within it. After that, the black hole was cut in half, and then it collapsed and turned into countless rune fragments. The tearing force that filled the sky suddenly paused for a moment before swiftly dissipating. Then, Du Xiaofu's figure broke out of it. He was holding a broadsword in his right hand, and the body of a gigantic flame phoenix in his right. He stood proudly in the void. That distant flame phoenix was the instigator of this rebellion, Ancestor Feng San. Previously, Du Xiaofu was on the verge of death under Ancestor Feng San's sharp claws. He was about to be crushed into powder by Ancestor Feng San. It was also at that time that the artifact soul of the heavenly palace of violet gold moved. Without the slightest hesitation, Du Xiaofu used the essence spirit of the redbone horse monkey and communicated with the heavenly palace of violet gold. Back then, when the heavenly palace of violet gold devoured the artifact soul of the primordial sacred artifact, Sky Slashing, Du Xiaofu also obtained the inheritance of the Sky Slashing 3 swords. However, after a long time, he only comprehended the first move, sword slashing 10,000 miles. Until today, when he was on the verge of death, through the fusion and communication with the artifact soul of the heavenly palace of violet gold, he finally comprehended the second move of the Sky Slashing 3 swords. It was called emptiness between heaven and earth. It was also because of this that he had a chance to counterattack in a hopeless situation. Far away from Du Xiaofu, countless living beings watched this scene in disbelief with their mouths agape. They could sense that Ancestor Feng San was not dead, and there was still an aura of life on his body. However, at this moment, this aura was extremely weak and was already at the point of dying. The insufferably arrogant Ancestor Feng San was captured alive just like that. This could not help but be shocked. Du Xiaofu's eyes were clear. The heavenly palace of violet gold in his right hand shone brightly, and a domineering and fierce aura spread out. Without hesitation, he slashed down directly on Ancestor Feng San's neck. Puffed! The heavenly palace of violet gold emitted a light like the scorching sun and slashed on the huge body of the distant sky flame phoenix, making a buzzing sound. It could be seen how strong his body was. However, this could not stop the sharpness of the heavenly palace of violet gold. Ancestor Feng San's head was cut off and rolled down to the void with a rumble. At the severed neck, blood spurted out like a fountain, drenching Du Xiaofu's body again. In the distance, in the dilapidated ancient city, in the main hall of the Baifeng Divine Bird Clan, sitting cross-legged, like a dead old woman, she had opened her eyes at some point. This old woman was Du Xiaoqing's sister, the ancestor of the Baifeng Divine Bird Clan. Everything that her primordial spirit sensed caused her wrinkled old face to be filled with shock. That kid is so freakish, the old woman muttered to herself in disbelief. To be able to tear apart Ancestor Zhang Jie and kill Ancestor Feng San, his strength was probably not below hers. The old woman heaved a long sigh. She was secretly glad that the Demon King was not an enemy of the Baifeng Divine Bird Clan. Not only that, but because of Du Xiaoqing's existence, there was even more camaraderie between the two parties. Thinking of this, the old woman smiled softly. With this kid here, it seems like I won't have the chance to fight today. Then, thinking of the Demon King's nature, the old woman shook her head and smiled bitterly. If this kid finds out that I'm pretending to be dead, I'm afraid the Beast Alliance will be in trouble. I'd better pretend to be dead until the end. Sigh. In the end, the old woman closed her eyes and her aura silently disappeared. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was still standing in the air. His clothes were torn, and his aura was fierce. The blood of Ancestor Zhang Jie and Ancestor Feng San smeared his face with scarlet blood, making him look like a blood-soaked Azura. Countless creatures in the distance widened their eyes as they watched Ancestor Feng San being killed with one strike. They were shocked. Qi Yin of the Baifeng Divine Bird Clan, Bai Rian of the Baifeng Divine Bird Clan, Hu Pao of the Dark Heavenly Tiger Clan, Xiao Gu of the Roaring Heavenly Lion Clan, and the other young experts were filled with bitterness. However, they were more in awe and admiration. General, Ghostchild, Gu Xinyan, and the others had the same feeling. It had to be said that the young man named Demon King had already walked ahead of everyone. His strength was so terrifying that he could easily kill the most ancient experts. Among his peers, no one could compare to him. The Demon King killed Ancestor Zhang Jie and Ancestor Feng San while bathed in blood. His unparalleled ferocity has already surpassed the world. Someone murmured, whether it's the Beast Alliance or the human race, he's already standing at the peak. Another expert of the Beast Alliance said. Chapter 2491. Amongst everyone, the calmest ones were Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger Du, and the others. They had accompanied Du Xiaofu all the way here and had overcome many difficulties and obstacles, so they knew each other well. As for Du Xiaofu's freakish improvement, they had long been accustomed to it. Father is so powerful. Du Xiaolin's tender voice sounded, and her pair of lively big eyes were filled with little stars. One day, I will be as strong as Uncle Xiaofu. Du Xiaoba clenched his fists tightly, his small body tensed up, and his eyes flickered with a golden light, surging with an absolutely domineering aura. In the distance, Du Xiaofu listened to everyone's words, but he did not feel the slightest bit proud or complacent in his heart. He was very clear in his heart that although his current strength had surpassed countless living beings, however, the world was so big that there were still countless powerful existences whose strength was far above his. For example, Fui Bai, the old lunatic, and the 5 people known as Eastern Immortal, Western Demon, Southern Scholar, Northern Addict, and Middle Divine Ability. Furthermore, there was still the Demon God as a great enemy. That was an existence that even the Master of 3,000 Worlds and the Dragon God could not kill. Du Xiaofu knew his own limits. He was very clear that there was still an insurmountable gap between his strength and the demon gods. Only by continuously increasing his strength would he be able to deal with the upcoming great calamity of heaven and earth, deal with the ruthless and bloody massacre of the devil religion, and protect his family, friends, and people. The Tiger Desolate Patriarch was the first to recover from his shock. His tiger eyes narrowed as he swept his gaze across the experts of the Heavenly Flame Phoenix, 8 Desolation Demonic Dragon, Gulan Heavenly Condor, Legalism, School of Famed, and School of Vertical and Horizontal, with killing intent surging. Don't just stand there. Kill all the rebels without mercy. The tiger desolate patriarch shouted in a deep voice. After he finished speaking, the huge dark sky tiger's body trembled. Its wings spread out, and it took the lead to pounce towards the dragon desolate patriarch. All the living beings present were stunned for a moment, and then erupted into earth-shattering shouts of killing. Among the three patriarchs, Patriarch Cruel War and Patriarch Feng San had both perished. Only Patriarch Dragon Desolate was left. Most importantly, the scene of the Demon King Du Xiaofu capturing and killing those two was simply too tyrannical. It greatly boosted the morale of their side, while the morale of their opponents plummeted. If they didn't counterattack now, when would they? Kill. Kill the rebels. Rebels, kill without mercy. Kill. The Baifeng divine bird, the dark heavenly tiger, the roaring heavenly demonic lion, and the other powerhouses of the demonic beast clan all jumped up and blew the horn to counterattack. Countless demonic beasts' huge bodies flew across the sky and pounced. Colorful lights shot out in all directions, containing a terrifying amount of energy. Run! The experts from the distant Sky Flame Phoenix, 8 Desolation Demonic Dragon, Gulen Heavenly Condor, and the other races were struck with fear upon hearing the news. Today's battle had already come to an end. All of them had thoughts of running for their lives. They simply did not have the courage to continue fighting. Kill! In the crowd, little Qilin's tender voice roared loudly. Its small body was covered in lightning. It lifted its front hooves, and a large amount of light swept out, attacking the other party. Catch them quickly. Barbecue and stew them. Don't run, Du Xiaoba shouted. He was like a human-shaped baby Pong, flapping around. He caught a demonic beast clan expert and directly knocked him out with a punch. Then he threw them together and piled them up into a mountain. Seeing more and more ingredients piled up, Du Xiaoba was so excited that his eyes shone with green light. His saliva kept dripping down. However, he still held back his greed and continued to chase. Kill, blood for blood. Kill, 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 kill. Elder Jiao Xie, Patriarch Jiao Huang, Qi Su, Elder Hu Si, and the others also led Du Xiaoqing, Qi Yin, Little Tiger, Hu Si, and the other clansmen to launch a large-scale counterattack. Long Huang, you won't be able to escape today. The Howling Moon Ancestor stepped on the void and let out an earth-shaking roar at the Long Huang Ancestor. Instantly, the roar broke a large area of space. If I want to leave, no one can stop me. The Long Huang Ancestor snorted coldly. His dragon body crushed, crushing the spatial crack until it burst, and he fled into the distance. At this moment, he also had the thought of retreating in his heart. Zhangjie and Feng San were already dead. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, was still watching covetously from the side. He was the only supreme expert left on his side, and it was difficult for him to support himself alone. He could no longer fight against the Baifeng Divine Bird and the other clans. This rebellion had already been declared a failure. The Long Huang Ancestor could not stay here and wait for death. At this moment, the spatial barrier outside the ancient, desolate, fearsome grounds had completely disappeared. As long as he could kill his way out, there was no place for him in the vast world. Du Xiaofu, who was at the periphery of the battlefield, watched all of this quietly. The enemy alliance was already in a state of collapse and could no longer cause any trouble. There was no need for him to do anything. Moreover, after the two battles with Patriarch Zhangjie and Patriarch Feng San, he had exhausted himself greatly. He could use this opportunity to recover. Du Xiaofu narrowed his eyes as he cast his gaze on some human beings who were running away. These humans were from the legalism, the famous clans, and the school of vertical and horizontal. Under Du Xiaofu's observation, he did not see the figures of Elder Ming and Second Uncle in the legalism lineup. Perhaps they were still searching for opportunities in the ancient, desolate, fearsome grounds, and this also allowed Du Xiaofu to heave a sigh of relief. As for Elder Ming, Du Xiaofu and her no longer owed each other anything. However, because of her relationship with his sister, Du Xiaofu still did not wish to become enemies with her. As for his second uncle, Du Xiaofu had some complicated feelings for him. Du Xiaofu did not attack again, and only quietly watched as those people gradually disappeared into the distance. Countless rebels fled like stray dogs. Many demonic beasts were killed and fell from the sky. The Baifeng Divine Bird Clan and the other clans also chased after them, but under the instructions of Elder Xie, Elder Hu Si, and the other experts, they did not chase too far. After half a day, all the experts returned one after another. Du Xiaofu also put away the corpses of Patriarch Zhangjie and Patriarch Feng San into his cosmos bag. Their mystic bones and blood essence were all rare treasures. Rock Emperor, today's matter is all thanks to you. The Baifeng clan thanks you. The Roaring Heaven Demon Lion clan thanks the Rock Emperor for your help. The hosts of the various clans all bowed to Du Xiaofu, sincerely expressing their gratitude. Du Xiaofu also responded to them one by one. Uncle Xiaofu, I'm back. 3 huge demonic beast corpses flew over from afar, like 3 moving mountains. Looking closely, Du Xiaoba's small body was covered by them. He was dragging a demonic beast corpse in each hand, and at the same time, carrying one on his shoulder, roaring excitedly. Brother Xiaoba, let's go and let Dad roast some meat for us. Beside Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin was jumping around happily. Du Xiaofu pointed at the mountain of demonic beasts that Du Xiaoba had piled up earlier. There were all kinds of demonic beasts, and there were all kinds of demonic beasts. Smiling slightly, Du Xiaofu could not help but tease. So many of them have been eaten? Are you planning to hold a Beast Alliance food festival? Chapter 2492. The sky gradually darkened as night fell. In the middle of the Beast King mountain range, bonfires rose and burned brightly in the night. The Beast Alliance food festival had officially begun. Du Xiaoba was busy dissecting the giant demonic beast's body. He washed it clean and handed it to Du Xiaofu. Little Tiger Du was also familiar with the task. He set up more than 10 grills and 7 to 8 large medicine furnaces. He poured water into the large cauldron and started to stew. Du Xiaofu was in charge of cooking. He placed a large amount of seasoning on the barbecued meat and threw it into the large cauldron. Little Qilin wagged its tail and followed behind Du Xiaofu. It sniffed here and there, as if it wanted to swallow everything in one gulp. Don't move. It's not cooked yet. Du Xiaofu knocked on little Qilin's head and smiled. As the barbecued meat became shiny, the meat soup in the large cauldron started to boil. The aroma filled the air and made everyone salivate. At the periphery, the Baifeng Divine Bird, Dark Heavenly Tiger, Roaring Sky Demonic Lion, and other experts from various clans looked at them and swallowed their saliva silently. After a great battle, everyone had consumed a lot of energy. They all felt exhausted. The barbecued meat and meat soup contained pure energy that made people feel refreshed just by smelling it. If they could have a bite of it, it would be such a wonderful experience. However, due to various reasons, they were too embarrassed to step forward and could only watch quietly from the side. The Baifeng Divine Bird Clan's ancestor had fallen and the Beast King mountain range had turned into ruins in the big battle. They could not feel happy. Even Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaofu's partner who had followed him for many years, had a worried expression on her face. Aunt Xiaoqing, I want a hug. Little Qilin saw that she was unhappy and jumped into her arms. It rubbed its head on her face affectionately. Du Xiaoqing's face relaxed and she giggled. Brother Hu Pao, quickly go and help me gather more firewood. Little Tiger Du pulled the young experts of the Dark Heavenly Tiger clan into the team. Brother Xiaogu, please help me find more bowls and chopsticks. Uncle Qi Yin, Uncle Xie Yin, Aunt Ru Yin, we're too busy. Come and help us distribute the food. Hey, General, Ghost Child, what are you waiting for? Come and help. Under the instigation of Du Xiaofu and the others, Qi Yin of the Baifeng Divine Bird Clan, Bai Ruyan of the Baifeng Divine Bird Clan, Xiao Gu of the Roaring Sky Demonic Lion Clan, and Hu Pao of the Dark Heavenly Tiger Clan also put down their reservations and joined in the ranks of roasting meat and stewing soup. General, Ghost Child, Gu Xinyan, Gua Xiaofeng, and the others also stepped forward to help. The aroma of meat wafted through the air, and the mellow aroma permeated the air. Du Xiaoba and Du Xiaolin, these two gluttons, had already started eating, their mouths full of oil. Many young Beast Clan experts could not resist the temptation and went forward one after another. They took the roasted meat and meat soup from Qi Yin, Xie Yin, by Ruyan and the others and started eating heartily. For a time, the Beast Alliance food festival became extraordinarily lively. It would be even better if there was wine. Du Xiaofu used a tree branch to fork a piece of phoenix wing that was about the size of his body. As he ate, he sighed sorrowfully. His gaze kept glancing at the tiger desolate ancestor, howling moon ancestor, Patriarch Xiehuang, Patriarch Xieyan, and the other older generation experts. The corner of his mouth hooked up into a smile. Those people, because of their status, wanted to eat but couldn't put down their faces. He couldn't help but want to laugh. Yes, 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 this old man has wine here. Tiger desolate ancestor waved his hand, and dozens of jars of strong wine flew out from his cosmos sack and were placed on the ground. This old man has some too. Howling Moon Ancestor also said, there are so many people. How can this little wine be enough to drink? My Baifeng clan has a lot of hidden wine in the city. This old man will go and get it now. Before Elder Jiao Xie could finish his words, he had already disappeared. He had gone into the dilapidated ancient city. In a short while, a green and red light flew back, carrying countless wine jars, and arrived in front of everyone. Patriarch Xiehuang slowly walked to Du Xiaofu's side with a wine bowl in his hand, and spoke with a serious expression. Today, thank you, Rock Emperor, for helping the Beast Alliance and eliminating the internal threat. My Beast Alliance will never forget this kindness. This bowl of wine, on behalf of the Beast Alliance, will be the first to toast. After he finished speaking, he gulped it down in one gulp, then filled it up again and glanced at Du Xiaoqing. This second bowl of wine is to thank the Rock Emperor for taking care of my clan's little ancestor all these years, allowing him to finally return to my Baifeng clan. My clan has nothing to repay him with. Cheers. Patriarch Xiehuang continued to fill the wine cup and said loudly, the Rock Emperor is young and promising, and his heroic bearing is unparalleled. The name of the Demon King shakes the world, and this old man truly admires him. Cheers. You're too kind, Patriarch. I won't say anything else. It's all in the wine. Cheers. Du Xiaofu did not dare to be careless. He raised his wine bowl and emptied it in one gulp. Great Rock Emperor, our Beast Alliance owes you a huge favor. If there's anything you need us for in the future, Great Rock Emperor only has to say the word and we'll do our best to help you. The Howling Moon Ancestor said loudly, to the Rock Emperor. Everyone present, from the older generation to the younger generation, raised their wine bowls to greet Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu replied courteously and downed the wine. For a moment, the entire place was silent, and only the gulping sound of wine could be heard. Awesome! Du Xiaofu raised his sleeve and wiped the wine stains at the corner of his mouth. He then raised his voice and shouted to everyone around him, come, 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 come. Let's eat the meat and drink the soup. Countless Beast Alliance experts swarmed forward and gathered in front of the bonfire, receiving the delicious barbecued meat and soup from the person in charge of distributing the food. This was not only a feast, but also a celebration of victory. Wow, I've never eaten such delicious barbecued meat. Come, cheers. This is the meat of a holy beast expert. The energy is so pure. I feel that my strength is showing signs of a breakthrough. No, I have to hold it in and eat more. Du Xiaofu's face was flushed red. He hugged the wine jar and walked to an empty corner alone. He looked up at the night sky and watched the countless stars rotating and changing. He just watched quietly like that. In his mind, he quietly thought about some trivial things. About his drunkard father, about his mother, about his sister, about his tomboy, about Dongli Qingqing. There was no 9 great families, no devil religion, no great tribulation, no ancestor's heavenly body, no lord of the 3,000 sectors, and no dragon god. At this moment, those things had nothing to do with him. Then, Du Xiaofu's eyes slowly closed, and he fell asleep. Little Qilin, be good. Don't disturb your father. Let him sleep for a while. Du Xiaoqing shushed little Qilin and stopped it. Her beautiful eyes were filled with heartache, and she reminded it not to disturb him. She clearly knew that her brother had not enjoyed such peace for a long time. All these years, he had treated life as grass and walked on fire as if it were flat ground. He had cut through all obstacles and grew continuously. It seemed that he had endless glory. However, Du Xiaoqing deeply understood that the godlike brother in her eyes had experienced too many hardships and carried too much pressure behind his limitless glory. Chapter 2493. When the light dispersed the darkness, the entire Beast King mountain range woke up. After a night, the ground was littered with bones and wine jars. Many young experts of the beast race were drunk and sprawled on the ground. However, the leaders of the various races had used their cultivation last night to easily dispel the effects of the alcohol and left. After all, there was still a mess to clean up after the battle. As for these youngsters, just let them do whatever they want and be unbridled for a while. A gentle breeze blew across Du Xiaofu's face. It was cool and comfortable, causing him to slowly open his eyes. "Brother, you're awake." Beside him, Du Xiaoqing's delicate face revealed a smile. Her bright eyes and white teeth added a hint of comfort. Du Xiaofu stood up and stretched his back, letting out a comfortable groan. This sleep was extremely comfortable. Du Xiaofu reached out and rubbed Du Xiaoqing's head. He smiled and asked, "Silly girl, have you been guarding here all night?" Du Xiaoqing rubbed her head with her big hand. Just as she was about to answer, she suddenly tilted her head and looked in the direction of the Bai Fong clan's ancient city. High up in the sky, a figure hurriedly dashed over, landing in front of Du Xiaofu and Li Qingshan in the blink of an eye. Clan leader Xie Huang. Du Xiaofu stepped forward and greeted the newcomer. The person who rushed over was the clan leader of the Bai Fong Divine Bird Clan, Xie Huang. With his arrival, the experts who had slept in the mountain range woke up one after another. Rock Emperor. Clan leader Xie Huang cupped his fists in return. He looked at Du Xiaofu with a serious expression and said, "Rock Emperor, there's a piece of news that I think I should tell you. The clan just received a report that there's an unforeseen event in the human race." Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows and asked, "Human race? What happened?" Speaking of which, the human tribe in the ancient, desolate, fearsome grounds was closely related to him. He had once obtained the human emperor's seal and left his name in the divine temple, standing side by side with the saints of the human race. The old emperor had already abdicated, so he was the new human emperor. Patriarch Xie Huang was also aware of this. Recently, the human race's ancient emperor fell, and the Yu family led people to seize the sacred palace, imprisoning the previous old emperor. The people of the other great families resisted in vain and were brutally suppressed. Clan leader Huang said. When Du Xiaofu heard this, his eyes gradually narrowed. Patriarch Xie Huang's short words contained too much carnage and bloodshed. With the fall of the ancient emperor of the human race, the strongest pillar of the temple had collapsed. The Yu clan was the only clan that still had the old emperor. Among the 8 great clans of the human race, they possessed the most powerful force. They had an overwhelming advantage over the others. After the previous old emperor was imprisoned, no one in the Yu clan could keep them in check. Even if the remaining 7 great clans joined forces, they did not have the strength to compete with them. The only thing that Du Xiaofu did not understand was why the ancient emperor of the human race followed closely after the ancestor of the Bai Fong Divine Bird Clan died. As if he could sense Du Xiaofu's thoughts, Patriarch Xie Huang shook his head and smiled bitterly. Our ancestor and the ancient emperor of the human race were already nearing the end of their lives. After the human race chose a new emperor, our ancestor went to the sacred palace and fought with the ancient emperor of the human race. Patriarch Xie Huang did not finish his words, but Du Xiaofu already understood. He knew very well that he was at the center of the conflict when the two of them fought. In the end, with the help of the ancestor of the Bai Fong clan, he completely refined the human emperor's seal. Later on, the ancient emperor of the human race appeared and guided him to the burial wasteland. Du Xiaofu was still puzzled. When he was in the depths of the burial wasteland, all the experts of the great clans had gathered, but he did not see the ancestor of the Bai Fong clan and the ancient emperor of the human race. It was only now that he truly understood. As it turned out, after the two of them fought, they were truly at the end of their rope. Until recently, they had finally passed away. You clan, it seems that if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't learn your lesson. Du Xiaofu clenched his fists tightly, and killing intent burst forth from his eyes. When he thought of the ancient emperor of the human race, his heart faintly ached. If the Yu clan rebelled, the Sun clan, the Jiang clan, and the Lu clan, which he had a good relationship with, would most likely be suppressed with iron and blood. Also, the old and young of the Lin village, who were the clansmen of his disciple, Lin Feng, would definitely be exterminated by the Yu clan. When he thought of this, Du Xiaofu cupped his fists at Patriarch Xiaohuang and said, "Thank you for your information, Patriarch. I must take care of this matter." He and the Yu clan originally had an irreconcilable enmity between them. Previously, if it were not for the old Emperor Yu Duanqing, with Du Xiaofu's character, he would have already dealt with the Yu clan properly. "Xiaoba, Xiaolin, let's go to the Holy Temple immediately." Du Xiaofu called Du Xiaoba and Du Xiaolin to his side, then looked at the general, Ghostchild, Gu Xinyan, and a dozen others. "What do you plan to do next?" After everyone looked at each other, the general said, "We'll go with you and take a look." The others nodded in unison. They all knew in their hearts that this trip to the human race would definitely be a fierce battle. As friends, they were duty-bound to stand by Du Xiaofu's side and boost his momentum. Rock Emperor, let Little Qing and Little Ancestor go with you. In addition, Qi Yin, Xiaohuang, Ruyin, and the others can also be considered as helping you. Patriarch Xiaohuang said. Du Xiaoqing's strength was needless to say. Now that Qi Yin, Xiaohuang, by Ruyin, and the others had also broken through to the Saint Realm, they had extremely powerful combat strength and could be of great use. Du Xiaofu heard that and shook his head. The Beast Alliance has always been at odds with the human race. There's no need to get involved in this matter. Little Qing and Little Tiger will also stay at the Baifeng clan and help the Patriarch deal with some of the aftermath. Patriarch Xiaohuang nodded in agreement. The reason why he did not mention letting the older generation experts go was because he considered the tense relationship between the human race and the Beast Alliance. He was afraid that not only would they not be of help, but they would also spoil the situation. "Patriarch, this matter is urgent. I'll take my leave first. After the Holy Temple matter is settled, I'll return to the Beast King mountain range to pay my respects to the old ancestor." Du Xiaofu said. "Rock Emperor, you're so considerate." Patriarch Xiaohuang said. "As the new human emperor, you should prioritize the Holy Temple matter. If there's anything you need, just send someone to inform us. The Beast Alliance will do our best to help." Du Xiaofu nodded heavily. Then, without further delay, he waved his sleeves and swept up Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, the general, and the others before leaving through the air. Patriarch Xiaohuang watched them leave. He cupped his hands at Du Xiaoqing and said, "Little Ancestor, the Rock Emperor's trip won't be simple. I'm still a little worried. Why don't you go with Qi Yin, Xiaohuang, by Ruyin, Little Tiger, and the others?" Patriarch Xiaohuang knew that the old emperor of the Yu clan was definitely not a simple character. Even though Du Xiaofu had killed Zhang Jie and Feng San, the human race's situation was different now. The real war had ended long ago, and the Holy Temple was under the control of the Yu clan. If Du Xiaofu did not have enough helpers on this trip, it would be difficult for him to fight against the Yu clan. Chapter 2494. Du Xiaoqing understood Patriarch Xiaohuang's worries and deeply agreed with his words. She was also worried about her brother's departure. "Thank you, clan leader." Du Xiaoqing thanked clan leader Xiaohuang. The Beast Alliance has a tense relationship with the human race. Remember to hide when you reach the sacred palace. Only show yourself when necessary. Clan leader Xiaohuang reminded her. Yes. Du Xiaoqing bowed to Xiaohuang with her hands clasped in front of her. She did not rely on her status as a little ancestor to be rude to the patriarch. "Go." Clan leader Xiaohuang smiled. Du Xiaoqing did not hesitate. She immediately called for Little Tiger Du, Qi Yin, Xiaohuang, by Ruyin, Hu Pao from the Dark Heavenly Tiger clan, and Xiao Gu from the Roaring Heavenly Lion clan. The rest of the young powerhouses also expressed their desire to follow. Soon, more than 10 young powerhouses of the Holy Beast realm moved and headed to the human race. In the Heaven Burial Wasteland, as the world barrier had completely disappeared a few days ago, it was no longer a wasteland. Countless powerhouses of the human race, and the beast race stepped in. Many secret places appeared one after another, and many people obtained great opportunities. Today, almost all the places with great opportunities had been turned upside down by the powerhouses. All the treasures and elixirs had been plundered, and it was difficult to obtain great benefits. However, the powerhouses did not give up. They wandered around, trying to find great treasures again. However, as time passed, those who did not obtain great opportunities became more and more discouraged. In the end, like wandering ghosts, they wandered around in groups of 3 to 5, bored to death. Hey, have you heard? There's a rebellion in the Beast Alliance, a living being said in surprise. Tisk, that's new. Don't you know that the rebellion in the Beast Alliance has been suppressed? A living being sneered in disdain. What's going on? The situation is that after the ancestor of the Bai Fong clan died, the Sky Flame Phoenix, 8 Drought Demon Dragon, and Gulen Heavenly Eagle led the 3 clans to the Beast King mountain range. They want to take the Beast Alliance leader's position. The Bai Fong Divine Bird, the Dark Sky Tiger, the Roaring Sky Demonic Lion, and the other clans fought with their lives on the line. Yao Tian, Yin Feng, and the other clans were prepared and victory was in their grasp. They thought they could sweep away the Bai Fong and the other clans and take down the Beast King mountain range, but who would have thought that the Demon King Du Xiaofu would suddenly appear? Demon King Du Xiaofu? And then? The Demon King Du Xiaofu led more than 10 Saint Realm experts to aid the Bai Fong Divine Bird clans. He alone slew the Gulen Heavenly Condor clan's old ancestor Zhangjia and the distant Sky Flame Phoenix clan's old ancestor Feng San. In the end, the 8 Desolation Demonic Dragon clan's old ancestor Long Huang fled. The Tiger Desolation ancestor and the Howling Moon ancestor chased after him to no avail. The Dragon Desolation ancestor was nowhere to be found. Demon King Du Xiaofu is really too scary. The news of the great battle that happened in the Beast King mountain range quickly spread everywhere. Fuck, the Beast Alliance Food Festival. How many Beast Clan experts did he eat? Just thinking about it makes my hair stand on end. So many Saint Realm experts died and were eaten into his stomach. The Demon King really lives up to his name. I heard that a similar rebellion happened in the human tribe's divine palace. The Demon King is already rushing over with his men. How could I forget that the Demon King is also the human emperor of the human tribe? The human tribe is going to be lively. That's the Demon King we're talking about. He's going to cause a ruckus in the divine palace. Not necessarily. The Yu clan that started the rebellion is really not easy to deal with. No, I have to go and see for myself. If I miss this kind of excitement, I'll be struck by lightning. Similar discussions were happening everywhere. Everyone was shocked by the changes in the Beast Alliance. The most shocking thing was the Demon King's savagery. When they heard that the Demon King was rushing to the human tribe, these idle experts couldn't stay calm anymore. Many of them expressed that they wanted to go to the divine palace to watch the battle and see the Demon King's glory. Oh, in an ancient battlefield, a woman with an enchanting figure sat cross-legged. The woman heard the discussions around her and gave a soft, "Oh," surprise flashed across her bright eyes. Then, her red lips curled into a beautiful smile. Thinking back to when she first met that kid and led him to the deepest part of the heaven burial wasteland, the woman couldn't help but sigh softly. What a hidden kid. I feel like I've been deceived more and more. The woman swayed her slender waist and walked into the distance step by step. My interest in you is really getting stronger and stronger. With every step she took, she walked further and further away. After 3 steps, she was already out of sight. Haha, this kid really knows how to cause trouble. A middle-aged man with a resolute face stood on a small hill. He was tall and had an extraordinary aura. Beside him, an old man in his 70s listened to the discussions of countless experts. He said respectfully to the middle-aged man, "New master, should we go over and take a look?" The middle-aged man couldn't help but smile. My son wants to cause trouble. As his father, I should at least go and cheer him on. Ha ha ha. After saying that, the 2 figures flashed and disappeared, leaving only waves of laughter echoing in the void. In a messy forest, a middle-aged man with thick eyebrows stood. He was holding the six-wheel blood-killing array that gave off a cold light. "Hey, brat, why didn't you call your old brother for such a fun thing?" The middle-aged man had a strange smile on his face. He waved his hand and tore open the void. He went in. "Since you didn't call me, I'll go and join in the fun myself." In the ruins of a dilapidated palace, a golden phantom of a five-fingered mountain suddenly appeared. Immediately after, the five-fingered mountain faded away, and a young man in golden clothes emerged from the ruins. The young man's primordial spirit probed. After a while, a cold and elegant expression appeared on his handsome face. He muttered to himself, "They even dare to snatch the position of the human emperor from my brother. This you family must be tired of living." After saying that, the young man's body shone with golden light like the sun. When the golden light dissipated, his figure had disappeared from the spot. In the endless sky, a group of golden-winged rocks flew rapidly. The golden-winged rocks at the front suddenly stopped and turned into a dignified and domineering old man. The old man laughed loudly. His laughter shook the nine heavens, and the sky trembled. "Ha ha ha ha! The grandson of Jalobatian, is extraordinary." Beside him, an old lady appeared and nodded gently. She couldn't help but feel gratified. Behind the two old men, a golden-winged rock spoke in human language. "Grandpa, Grandma, should we go and help the young master?" "Go. We must go," the old man replied domineeringly. Then, his body shone with golden light and disappeared instantly. In a barren area, 18 figures stood in the void. Each of them had a valiant aura, and their bodies were rippling with biting cold killing intent. The leader was a young man who was as cold as ice. His sharp gaze swept across the other 17 people as he shouted in a low voice, 18 heavenly generals, here." The remaining 17 people replied in unison, "Follow me to the divine palace and help the rock emperor." The young man waved his hand, and the 18 figures flew into the sky together. "Hee. The rock emperor is going to the divine palace alone. As the barren nation's guardian emissaries and the heavenly beast hall's guardian emissaries, we must advance and retreat together with the rock emperor at this time." In the huge mountain range, the green fox demon's gaze swept across Emotian Shao, Dongfang Qingmu, Nether Demon, Yelu Han, and Dugu Fenchen. His words were serious and filled with righteousness. However, his wretched face was filled with a sinister smile that was filled with a thick scent of evil. "Let's go." The heavenly demon Yelu Han didn't waste any time and directly flew through the void. The remaining people followed behind. On a green grassland, there was a beautiful purple figure. She was holding two beautiful little girls in each of her hands. "Lady Xian, I haven't seen my father in a long time. Let's go and see him." The little girl on the left looked up at the purple-clothed woman and said in a crisp voice. The woman pondered for a moment before nodding. Then, she quickly flew away with the two little girls. Big Brother. A beautiful woman stood at the top of an ancient tree. Her clothes fluttered in the wind, making her look like a fairy descending to the mortal world. The woman's appearance was very similar to Du Xiaofu's. She exuded a faint, graceful aura as her graceful figure rose into the air. Her soft lips moved slightly as she murmured, "Little sister will come and find you now. I haven't seen little Lin in a long time. Damn you, if you lead my son astray, I'll teach you a lesson." A slender woman clenched her fists and flew across the sky. The woman's pretty face was filled with a fierce aura, but her eyes rippled with happiness. "How dare they go against my father? This Yu family doesn't know how to cherish life at all." A little girl with a seductive mark between her eyebrows exuded a domineering aura. Her small body swayed slightly, and she disappeared on the spot. "Master." A bare-chested young man in short clothes rippled with lightning, and his eyes flashed with electric arcs. The young man punched through the void, and his body shot in like lightning. His muttering was drowned out as the void closed. "Disciple is coming to help you. Master has gone to the divine palace, and countless experts have also heard the news. I'm afraid there will be a fierce battle soon. We can't delay any longer. We have to hurry and support Master." Lei Yang, Pai Yuan, Di Lang, Bing Toad, Lai Diao, and Feiyu contacted each other through special means and rushed to the divine palace from various places. Sage, my brother-in-law is going to cause trouble again. Our school of Inyang should also go and take a look. Look at how anxious my sister is. How can our Confucian school stay out of it when the Grand Witch is in trouble? Ha ha ha. Good boy. Our school of techniques will help you flatten the Yu family and take control of the divine palace. Our school of Moism has a deep relationship with the Rock Emperor. There's no reason not to help. That boy is going to the divine palace to stir up trouble again. Our Phoenix clan may not be able to help, but it's good to go and join in the fun. My school of agriculture will also go and take a look. Our school of Taoism can't be left out of this matter. As the news of Du Xiaofu rushing to the divine palace spread throughout the ancient, desolate, fearsome grounds, almost all beings above the domain realm received the news and could not help but be shocked. Many experts who were friends with Du Xiaofu set off for the divine palace. In addition, there were even more experts who came to watch the fun. For a moment, the entire ancient, desolate, fearsome grounds was in an uproar. Countless experts moved from all directions and gathered in a mighty manner toward the divine palace. Lin Family Village. Several demon beasts were guarding the entrance of the village. The white-bearded village chief stood at the entrance of the village and looked worriedly to the east. That was the direction of the divine palace of the human race. Ever since several hundred years ago, when the Lin family was suppressed by the Yu family and rapidly declined, the Yu family would always use the name of the Divine Temple's examination to take away the more talented youths of the family and silently kill them. About half a year ago, thanks to the Rock Emperor's kindness, his grandson Lin Feng finally left his name on the heaven roll and became a supremacy. He also became the Rock Emperor's disciple. In the end, Lin Feng caught the eye of the city lord of Jade City and was taken in as an inner disciple to enter the divine palace. Lin Pu, Lin Zhu, and Lin Yao were also nurtured and stayed in the Sun family to cultivate. This gave hope to the entire Lin family village. As long as Lin Feng and the others could grow up smoothly, the Lin family village would have enough strength to resist the Yu family in the future. The talented juniors of the Lin family village would no longer have to worry about being openly killed by the Yu family under the guise of an examination. The old village chief bowed his body. His old bark-like face was full of worry. Although the Lin family village was remote and inaccessible, they still heard bits and pieces of news about the divine palace's turmoil from the mouths of some adventurers. These bits and pieces of news made the entire Lin family village uneasy. If the Yu family succeeded in seizing the divine palace, they would definitely not let them off. And Lin Feng, who was cultivating in the divine palace, and Lin Pu, Lin Yao, and Lin Zhu, who were staying in the Sun family, would most likely be mercilessly killed. But they did not know what the divine palace's situation was like. Awu, in the peaceful village with verdant hills and limpid waters, the roars of demon beasts suddenly came from afar. Hearing these roars, the village chief's expression changed greatly. Looking up, he saw over 100 figures riding demon beasts rushing over and stopping at the entrance of the village. The demon beasts roared with their bloody mouths, their fierce eyes glowing. Compared to the demon beasts at the entrance of the village, they were much taller and more ferocious. Their ferocious auras intimidated the demon beasts inside and outside the village, causing them to tremble in fear and crawl on the ground. On each of the demon beast mounts sat a figure in full armor. Their auras were powerful, and their ink-black armor glowed. The invisible aura that pervaded the air caused the entire village to tremble. In an instant, the entire Lin family village was alarmed. Many young men and women quickly gathered at the entrance of the village, everyone extremely nervous. The Black Cavalry Corps. The village chief looked nervously at the newcomers, a bad feeling rising in his heart. For the Black Cavalry Corps to suddenly rush over at this time, it must be that the turmoil at the Divine Palace had finally come to an end. Otherwise, what could a small Lin family village have that was worth the personal arrival of over 100 armored soldiers? Just as the old village chief was worried, the leader of the Black Cavalry Regiment urged the demonic beast he was riding to come forward. "May I know why you have come to my Lin family village?" The village chief braced himself and asked with an extremely humble attitude. "Kiki, This Lin family village should have disappeared from this world long ago. Chapter 2495. The leader wore a suit of armor with intricate patterns. He rode on a ferocious beast and looked down at the villagers of the Lin family village. His eyes were full of murderous intent. "What do you want?" The old village head was shocked and involuntarily asked. The leader's words were very clear. The purpose of the Black Cavalry Regiment was to destroy the Lin family village. "Humph, today, I'll let all of you die with a clear understanding." The leader snorted coldly. The demonic beast he was riding on roared ferociously and looked like it was about to pounce. "Mayu clan has already taken control of the Divine Temple and become the master of the human race. As for the person who protected your Lin clan, he can't even protect himself now. Kakik. The Yu clan controls the Divine Temple. How could this be?" Everyone in the Lin family village was shocked. The most worrisome thing had still happened. If what the leader said was true, and the sacred hall had fallen into the hands of the Yu clan, then wouldn't Lin Feng, Lin Zhu, and the others, who were cultivating in the sacred hall and the Sun clan, have already met with misfortune? Kill them. Flatten the Lin family village. Leave no one alive. The leader didn't waste any more words. He raised his arm and lightly waved it forward. The over 100 demonic beasts behind him all let out heaven-shaking roars and rose into the air. They carried the armored soldiers and charged towards the old village chief and the others. "Quick, protect the elderly, women, and children and leave." The old village chief yelled as he retreated in a straight line. He could feel that the men from the Black Cavalry Regiment that came today were much more elite than the 30 men from half a year ago. Each of them had a valiant aura that was not inferior to his. Especially the leader. The aura he emitted was even stronger than the Rock Emperor back then. The old village chief knew very well that with his cultivation of the martial emperor realm, there was no way he could stop these 100 people. No one in the entire Lin village could stop him. "You want to leave? Do you think you can escape?" When these words came out of the leader's mouth, his body pounced forward. He placed 2 of his fingers together and gently waved them. A ray of light condensed and took shape. Blazing talisman markings interweaved, as fast as lightning, like a rope winding around the old village chief, instantly imprisoning him in midair. "Kill. Leave no one alive. Owa." At the same time, the cavalrymen of the Black Cavalry Regiment shouted loudly. Waves of powerful chi erupted, and the demonic beasts galloped forward. The battle cries were deafening, and the roars of the beasts were like thunder. Everyone in the Lin family village retreated in panic. The ferocious aura of this group of people made them unable to even raise the ability to resist. "Die, old thing." The leader's finger lightly hooked, and the light rope binding the old village chief was released, releasing a terrifying blade-like aura, about to cut the old village chief's old body into 2. At this moment, a gentle voice resounded in the void. "The people of the Yu clan are indeed arrogant." As soon as the soft voice fell, a 10,000 zhang long blade of light broke through the air. The blade of light was ferocious and directly slashed at the light rope around the old village chief, shattering it and annihilating it into nothingness. Then, a handsome young man in a black robe appeared from the void. Boundless aura erupted from him and shook the surroundings. This black-robed young man's brows faintly revealed a fierce aura. The aura on his body faintly fluctuated, spreading a bit of killing intent. Just that aura alone was enough to turn the 100 cavalrymen of the Black Cavalry Regiment upside down. The old village chief was safe and sound. The young man reached out and grabbed the old village chief's arm. Before the 2 of them landed on the ground, a dozen or so silhouettes quickly swept over. These dozen or so people surrounded the young man. There were both men and women, and all of them had extraordinary bearings and were extremely young. "Who dares to obstruct my Yu clan?" The leader of the Black Cavalry Regiment was unable to restrain his anger and couldn't help but shout, "I don't have time to be long-winded with you. Kill. Leave no one alive." What answered him was the black-robed young man's indifferent words that were full of killing intent. Hearing this, the dozen or so young men and women nodded slightly. Soon after, their figures exploded, and the weapons in their hands shone brightly. Unparalleled killing intent swept through the air and quickly rushed into the formation of the Black Cavalry Regiment. These dozen or so people were extremely powerful. Their attacks were swift and violent. Displaying their tyrannical cultivation, they killed the 100 or so cavalrymen of the Black Cavalry Regiment, causing them to tremble and scream incessantly. In less than 2 breaths of time, the rising and falling screams abruptly stopped, and the village returned to peace. The 100 or so cavalrymen and demon beasts of the Black Cavalry Regiment were all turned into dismembered corpses on the ground. Blood flowed everywhere. The leader's face twitched, and he was greatly shocked. Without thinking, he turned around and fled. Although he had the cultivation of the martial domain realm, the aura emitted by these young men was probably above the sage realm. Any one of them could easily crush him to death. Staying here was tantamount to waiting for death. Want to leave? Do you think you can leave? The black-robed young man snorted coldly. He raised his hand and struck out a palm print, hitting the leader's back. After a muffled sound, the leader's body exploded into a cloud of blood mist, and his body and soul were destroyed. With a gentle breeze, he dissipated into the wilderness without a trace. Everyone in the Lin family village was still in shock, and they couldn't believe this scene. A cup of tea's time ago, the beautiful village entrance was now filled with the thick smell of blood. Those ferocious Black Cavalry Regiment couldn't even last a single exchange in front of these young men. They were directly wiped out. The old village chief was stunned, but he quickly came to his senses. The Lin family village had met with reinforcements. The old village chief didn't dare to be negligent. He bowed deeply to the black-robed young man and his group. "Thank you for saving us. The entire Lin family village is unable to repay this kindness." Among the young men and women, a woman in a red palace dress slowly walked to the old village chief and helped him up. She smiled and said, "Elder Lin, you don't have to be so polite. We are friends of the Rock Emperor." "The Rock Emperor? Isn't that the Rock Emperor?" "They are actually friends of the Rock Emperor." "Great, the Rock Emperor is still alive." Everyone in the Lin family village was in an uproar. Even the old village chief's face flushed red in an instant, looking extremely excited. Some of the young men in the village had a strange glow in their eyes. They were excited, but also filled with endless gratitude and worship. The Lin family village was ill-informed. They only knew that the Rock Emperor had suddenly been ambushed by an ancient ancestor of the Beast Alliance when he seized the position of the human emperor in the Divine Temple. There was no news of him since then, so he must have died. The old village chief and the others were heartbroken when they learned of this. Even now, the Lin family village still worshipped his memorial tablet and worshipped him every day and night. They vowed to remember the Rock Emperor's kindness for generations to come. Today, they suddenly heard the news that the Rock Emperor was still alive. How could they not be excited? However, they didn't know that the Bai Fong clan had only attacked in the Divine Temple to help Du Xiaofu. After fusing with the human Emperor's seal, Du Xiaofu had gone to the Heaven Burial Wasteland under the guidance of the human race's ancient emperor. He had only come out of the tomb of the Heavenly Tao for a few days. Looking at the excited people of the Lin family village, the young man and woman looked at each other in dismay, their faces full of amazement. Chapter 2496. Elder Lin, we still have to rush to the temple, so we can't stay here any longer. Find a safe place to hide and wait until the matter of the temple is over before returning. The black-robed youth said to the village chief. They were the general, Ghost Child, Gu Xinyan, Gua Xiaofeng, Tang Wu, and the others who had left the Beast Alliance with Du Xiaofu. "May I ask, Lord Rock Emperor is now?" The village chief carefully asked, trying his best to suppress his agitated emotions. Although he asked, he was inwardly blaming himself, thinking that when he returned to the village, he would immediately remove the memorial tablet. It was truly too inauspicious. We traveled with the Rock Emperor. When we arrived at Falling Jade City, we received news that the Yu clan had sent people to the Lin family village. The Rock Emperor had us turn back and help the Lin family village repel the enemy. Fortunately, we arrived in time. A smile appeared on Gu Xinyan's face as she looked to the east, somewhat absent-mindedly muttering, As for him, he should have reached the temple by now. The temple, above the majestic structure that towered into the clouds, radiating boundless radiance. It was suffused with an ancient and weathered aura, and waves of pressure filled every inch of space. In the grand square in front of the temple, an old man stood alone with his hands behind his back. This old man looked to be in his 70s, his long black hair combed behind his head. His complexion was ruddy, and his eyes were like blazing suns. His body was wrapped in a golden radiance, and although he did not release his aura, there was an invisible pressure that permeated the world. Looking up at the temple that was so vast that it almost broke through the horizon, the old man narrowed his eyes, a sinister smile gradually appearing on his face as he let out a strange chuckle. Ancestor. In the distance, a total of 8 figures flew down from the sky and landed behind the old man, respectfully bowing. Sensing the arrival of this group, the old man softly grunted, not turning around. Ancestor, everything is ready. When do we begin to refine the temple? Among the 8 figures, a white-robed man who looked to be in his 40s bowed as he spoke to the old man. There's no time to lose. Begin refining the sacred palace immediately. The old man still didn't move, but his eyes became sharp and lustrous as he said in a deep voice, "Once we succeed, the entire human race will be under our control. Even those old fogies of the 7 great families won't be able to resist. They can only obediently submit to our clan and won't be able to make any waves." When the 8 people behind him heard this, they all nodded heavily. Attack. The 8 people exchanged glances with each other. Then, the white-robed man took the lead and shouted in a low voice. The aura around his body was vast and mighty, and he instantly soared into the sky. The other 7 people did not delay any longer. They quickly flew into the sky and stood in 8 different directions with the white-robed man, surrounding the sacred hall in the center. The 8 of them each held a sacred item. As their cultivation base burst forth, a vast aura rippled out, shining brightly, landing on the sacred palace. The sacred hall will belong to the clan. On the square, the elder spoke as he slowly stepped forward and headed towards the sacred hall. After 7 steps, his figure suddenly stopped, and then he stomped his foot. Rings of bright ripples instantly appeared on the soles of his feet, surging towards the sacred hall like a surging wave. Rings of ripples spread out and rushed forward, creating ripples that rippled from bottom to top on the sacred hall's main body. Then, the ripples connected with the radiance of the 8 people in the sky, condensing into an 8 trigrams diagram that covered the sky and the sun, crushing down on the sacred hall. Boom, boom, boom. The huge, sacred hall began to tremble violently. Thousands of rays of light bloomed, resisting the power of the 8 trigrams. Suppress. The elder shouted. He stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion in the void. Then, a huge palm print appeared and fell from the sky above the sacred hall, covering it. This palm print was incomparably terrifying. It was as if it could control the void, as if it could move mountains and overturn seas. It wanted to seize the entire world within it and could easily crush it. The palm print descended rapidly, reflecting the splendor of the 8 trigrams diagram. The violent aura was like the anger of a god, stirring up a monstrous storm that circled and raged around the sacred hall. Boom, boom. The sacred hall trembled, and light shot into the sky. However, it was quickly suppressed by the light of the palm print and the 8 trigrams diagram. It was almost unable to withstand the pressure. At the same time, bricks and tiles shattered and fell from the sky in a scattered manner. When the light of the sacred hall was completely suppressed, the light that filled the sky suddenly converged, leaving only the 8 trigrams diagram rotating in the sky. The dark and majestic structure of the sacred hall was revealed. It was like a stone tablet that stood in the world, exuding a majestic and vicissitude aura. At this moment, the elder's figure suddenly burst out and directly plunged into the sacred hall. The blood in his body roiled, and endless energy surged out. The imperial palace's dragon chi poured out and filled the air. An indescribable charm spread from the elder's body. His entire body turned into a phantom with a strange aura. This phantom was as tall as the sacred hall. It was as majestic as a giant that stood between the sky and the earth. It intended to imprint itself on the stone tablet. Fuse. A majestic voice came from the phantom's mouth. His head of black hair danced wildly, and a boundless power surged. He tried his best to fuse with the sacred hall, causing it to tremble even more violently. Amidst the rumbling, a stern question came from the stone tablet. Yu Duanqing, the sacred hall is the root of the human race. Does the Yu clan really want to rebel? After refining the sacred hall, the Yu clan will be the master of the human race. We will rule the entire human race. Even if you are the previous human emperor, you will have to listen to this old man's orders. The giant phantom replied coldly. That's right. This elder was the Yu clan's old emperor, Yu Duanqing. At this moment, there was a sudden movement on the gloomy monument, and an infinite amount of light suddenly appeared. Divine and peerless phantoms appeared one after another. Divine light lingered on their bodies as if they had existed since ancient times. Waves of majestic pressure descended, directly suppressing the Yu clan's old emperor's primordial spirit. An earth-shattering pioneer of the human race. Seeing this scene, the giant phantom of the Yu clan's old emperor trembled slightly. These phantoms were the generations of outstanding human emperors who had led the human race to glory. They had left their names in the sacred hall and were passed down through the ages. Leaving their names in the sacred hall? Since they are already dead, how can they be fierce? Open up! Yu Duanqing shouted. The imperial palace's draconic chi burst forth from his figure. High in the sky, the 8 Yu clan experts used all their strength. They poured their energy into the 8 trigrams diagram, helping the old emperor to shake off the pressure. These human emperors had all passed away long ago. Even if they left their names in the sacred hall, they were not strong enough to compete with the Yu clan, who had come prepared. Yu Duanqing, how dare you be disrespectful to your ancestors? Inside the stone tablet, the previous human emperor roared. His angry voice resounded through the void. Chapter 2497. Faced with the previous human emperor's question, Yu Duanqing's phantom did not answer. He only snorted coldly, seemingly disdainful. His Yu clan's purpose of rebellion was to control the divine temple and thus the entire human race. If he truly revered and feared the deceased human race ancestors, why would he commit such a heinous act? Suppress. The Yu clan's old emperor roared like thunder, spreading through the 9 heavens as he refined the divine temple with all his might. The imperial palace's dragon chi enshrouded his body like a dense fog, shrouding the huge divine temple. In the sky, the 8 trigrams spun as a terrifying aura poured down from the sky like a tidal wave. Endless energy gathered in a dazzling rainbow, adding to the giant phantom of the Yu clan's old emperor to resist the might of the divine temple. The domineering and fierce might rapidly soared in this space, crushing the phantoms of the human race ancestors. There was a muffled buzzing sound, and then they all shattered. The light scattered into the void, disappearing into nothingness, one after another falling silent from the stone tablet. The might of the human race ancestors was suppressed just like that. Kikik. So what if you're a human race ancestor? How can a mere remnant soul resist this old man's methods? Yu Duanqing laughed sinisterly. It was also at this moment that another figure appeared on the stone-like divine temple. This figure was tall and imposing, standing above all the human race ancestors. It was like a god had descended to the world, emitting an indescribable aura. As soon as it appeared, a dazzling light bloomed, and an overwhelming pressure surged out, causing the Yu clan's old emperor's heart to tremble violently. The imperial palace's dragon chi on his body began to fluctuate violently, as if it was about to go out of control. As a former human emperor, Yu Duanqing was extremely familiar with this figure. This person was the first human emperor, the legendary human race saint. At this moment, even though the first human emperor had passed away for eons, Yu Duanqing still felt a deep sense of dread. One had to know that the entire human race was brought to glory by him alone. His great achievements were outstanding in the world, standing above all the ancestors. No one could compare to him. Even the sacred temple, the faith of the entire human race, was left behind by the first human emperor. Because of this, none of the Renhuangs who could leave their names in the Sage Hall could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. I really don't know what that damned brat Du Xiaofu did to deserve to be on the same level as the saint when he left his name in temple. The soul-stirring pressure slammed into Yu Duanqing's lifeless body like a tidal wave. His body could not help but tremble. Even someone as ambitious as him didn't dare to slack off in front of the phantom of the former sage. If there was even the slightest mishap, all of Yu Clan's plans would most likely go down the drain. It could even endanger their lives. However, while Yu Duanqing was apprehensive, he wasn't really afraid. If he was not fully prepared, no matter how bold he was, he would not have dared to set his sights on the divine temple and try to refine it. He felt a little strange. Why did all the ancestors of the humankind and even the former saints show up, but Du Xiaofu, who was on par with the former saints, didn't show up? Bring out the offerings. Without thinking too much, Yu Duanqing shouted, his loud voice spreading through the void. Even if the phantom of Du Xiaofu, who left his name in temple, appeared, he was fearless. What ability did a brat have to stop his footsteps? As soon as the Yu Clan's old emperor's voice fell, a dense crowd of figures began to appear in the square in front of the sacred palace, quickly filling up the entire square. Yu Duanqing, you've committed treason. You'll die a horrible death. The Yu Clan stole the temple and tried in vain to call themselves the Master Clan. Their crimes are punishable by death. How dare you be disrespectful to the ancestors of the humankind? You're a Renhuang in vain. Your entire clan will be exterminated, and you'll die without a burial. When these countless figures arrived at the square and saw the actions of the Yu Clan old emperor and the 8 experts, they all shouted angrily. Their eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, filled with endless resentment and curses. Those people's bodies were all restricted. Their auras were extremely weak, and they had been sealed away. Some of them even had bloody wounds on their bodies. Their chests and abdomens burst open, their bones sticking out. Their injuries were extremely terrifying. Behind them, a large number of people from the Yu Clan and their affiliated forces held sharp weapons and stood guard like executioners. Kikik, my Yu Clan's final fate is not up to you bunch of people who are about to die. The Yu Clan old emperor laughed sinisterly. While resisting the pressure of the first saints with all his strength, his expression suddenly became sinister and overflowing with killing intent. Kill them. On the square, the Yu Clan people received the order and unhesitatingly swung their butcher's knives. Terrifying rays of light, wrapped in a ruthless aura, slashed at the bodies of countless experts. Poochie poochie poochie. Ah! The sound of sharp blades cutting flesh mixed with blood-curdling screams played a bloody symphony in the large square. People of the Yu Clan will die a horrible death. Ah! I won't let you go even if I become a ghost. Ah! Curses and screams rang out incessantly. Countless people fell into pools of blood. Every single one of these killed humans was the backbone of their clans. Some of them were even tyrants of their own clans. But now, they had become sacrifices prepared by the Yu Clan to refine the sacred hall. They were slaughtered like livestock, and their deaths were extremely vexing. As more and more lives were reaped, fresh blood gathered into a stream that flowed on the square like a river of blood. The blood of these experts gathered together and fluctuated with terrifying energy as it gradually flowed in the direction of the sacred hall. 8 trigrams, blood sacrifice, desolate map, sacrifice to the heavens. The Yu Clan old emperor shouted. The giant phantom raised its hand slightly, and under the guidance of its aura, the river of blood began to ripple. High up in the sky, the 8 trigrams formed by the 8 Yu Clan experts descended and projected onto the square, causing the blood in the river of blood to flow in a regular pattern towards the sacred hall. It lingered around the sacred hall, and then condensed into a blood-colored 8 trigrams. A strange fluctuation was emitted from this 8 trigrams. It was the complete opposite of the vast and grand aura of the 8 trigrams in the sky. It was suffused with a cold and evil aura. Under the effect of this 8 trigrams, the phantom of the human clan's first saints dimmed a little. At this moment, the pressure on Yu Duanqing's origin spirit decreased by a lot. Ah, The Yu clan's massacre continued. Corpses piled up on the ground like weeds, and a steady stream of blood flowed on the square, surging towards the 8 trigrams and replenishing it with even more ferocious energy. As the pressure of the human clan's first saints decreased, the Yu clan Old Emperor's body slowly merged into the sacred hall. At this moment, it felt like he was gradually sinking into the wood. One could imagine that once the phantom of the human clan's first saints was suppressed, the Yu clan Old Emperor would truly be unstoppable. This caused countless people to feel extreme despair. Chapter 2498. Ancestors, quickly reveal yourselves and kill these traitors from the Yu clan. Ah, esteemed sage, please save the people of the human race. Ah. In the plaza, earth-shattering cries shook the 9 heavens. Batch after batch of humans were slaughtered, their corpses littering the ground. Ancestor, what should we do? Among these people were the Ji clan, the Sun clan, the Jiang clan, the Feng clan, the Run clan, the Yao clan, and the First clan. There were also people from various small factions like the Lu clan. At this moment of life and death, some of the juniors had no idea what to do in their despair. They could only place their hopes on the ancestors of their clans, hoping that they would be able to turn the tide and bring everyone a sliver of hope for survival. But no matter how many people prayed, they could not avoid the merciless butcher's knife that slid across their necks and cleaved open their chests, becoming food for the blood 8 trigrams. In the crowd, when the leaders of the 7 great clans saw this scene, their eyes bulged. They looked at the Yu clan's Old Emperor's giant figure and the 2 8 trigrams diagrams, one above and one below. Their eyes were full of hatred. What a cruel and evil array! Just how much strength did the Yu clan hide in order to refine the sacred hall? Just how much did they prepare? In the crowd, the old lady of the Jiang clan said fearlessly, if the Yu clan did not have a long-term plan, it would have been impossible for them to suddenly rise in revolt and wipe out the 7 great clans at the moment of the old emperor's death. Yu Duanqing, for you to harm your own clansmen, do you want to become enemies with the entire human race? Feng Wanran of the Feng clan angrily asked, but his cultivation was sealed. No matter how furious he was, he could not escape the fate of impending death. Kikik, become enemies with the entire human race? Your lives are no longer in your own hands, so what right do you have to say such things? If you want to submit to my Yu clan, it's still not too late. Otherwise, once this old man successfully refines the sacred hall and becomes the master of the human race, even if it's not your turn to die, you won't have such a good opportunity. Yu Duanqing's giant phantom let out a chilling laugh. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, several thousand people had already lost their lives in the plaza in front of the sacred hall. The blood 8 trigrams exuded a ruthless aura as they constantly nibbled away at the might of the mighty phantom of the human race's ancestor. The old emperor of the Yu family and the main body of the sacred hall were still fusing step by step. Ji clan, Sun clan, Jiang clan, Feng clan, Ren clan, Yao clan, Di clan, Lu clan. Yu Duanqing's gaze quickly swept across the plaza as he asked coldly, are there any of you willing to submit? The people of the Ren family only have pride that cannot be broken. There are no cowards who drag out an ignoble existence. The people of the Sun family will only die standing and will never live kneeling. I, the Feng clan, would rather die than become the Yu clan's dog. I swear I won't be a dog of the Yu family even if I die. I swear I won't be a dog of the Yu family even if I die. The ancestors of the 7 great clans expressed their firm stance one after another. Even if they had to die, they would never submit to the Yu clan. Ji Qinqing of the Ji family, Sun Qin of the Sun family, Jiang Yiting of the Jiang family, Feng Wucha of the Feng family, Ren Yuan of the Ren family, Yao Tianwu of the Yao family, the number 1 hero of the First family, Lu Limo, Lu Nimo, Lu Yunma of the Lu family, and Lin Feng, Lin Yao, Lin Zhu, and other young experts who were cultivating with the Sun family all spoke out. I swear I won't be a dog of the Yu family even if I die. We swear that we won't be the Yu clan's dog. We swear that we won't be the Yu clan's dog. Countless disciples shouted in unison, and even some people from small factions echoed at the same time. Their voices soared into the sky. Their cultivations were restrained, and they were unable to resist. Although many people were afraid, none of them cowered in the face of death. As they shouted, the fear in their hearts slowly disappeared, and gradually, there was a stirring and tragic feeling that caused the sky to tremble. The Yu clan's old emperor's gaze was solemn, and his heart throbbed a little. He even felt that something was wrong. At this moment, he faintly felt a little absent-minded. Perhaps the unity of everyone's hearts and minds was the source of the development of the entire human race and the source of their current glory. He tried hard to suppress the restlessness in his heart, and a bone-chilling voice carrying endless killing intent came from his throat. Since all of you are bent on seeking death, this old man will fulfill your wishes. Starting from the 7 great clans, your blood will become the nourishment for this old man to refine the sacred hall. Kill them all. In the plaza, the people of the Yu clan rushed into the crowd of the 7 great clans and began an even more bloody massacre. What they wanted was the blood of these powerhouses to refine the blood 8 trigrams and use it to refine the sacred hall. In an unknown dark space, an old man sat cross-legged on the phantom of a golden dragon. His entire body was rippling with an ancient aura, as if he had come from ancient times. The old man slowly opened his tightly shut eyes, and for a moment, his gaze was like a bright sun rising, illuminating the entire space. Alas, it's all my fault for causing these human juniors to suffer such a great calamity. The old man sighed heavily, containing a deep sense of self-blame, but his tone immediately became firm. I don't have much time left. If I can't uproot the malignant tumor of the human race before the end of my life, how can I leave with a peace of mind? Apart from a few people with ulterior motives, the rest of the juniors have not let me down. The old man shakily propped himself up and walked out. He seemed to be walking slowly, but in reality, he was extremely fast. As he walked, he murmured, I don't ask you to forgive a dying man like me. I only hope that the human race can have eternal peace. Even if the world is about to collapse, we must not lose our unity. The old man spoke with great relief. As he walked, he gently waved his arm, and the majestic imperial palace dragon Chi surged out, silently bursting open a gap in the space before him. He raised his leg and was about to step in. But suddenly, the old man's entire body froze. He exclaimed softly, and one of his legs stopped in midair. This was because, in the senses of his origin spirit, there were some unexpected changes in the sacred hall. As more and more humans were slaughtered, countless corpses fell to the ground. Blood gathered, causing the blood-colored 8 trigrams in the air to become more and more solid. Endless killing intent and bloodthirstiness spiraled over the vast sacred hall plaza. Above the sacred hall that was as dark as a stone steel, the phantoms of the human race's predecessors were much dimmer. The might they exuded was also on the verge of being suppressed by the 8 trigrams. The sacred hall is mine, and the human race will also submit to my Yu clan. The Yu clan old emperor smiled sorrowfully. He could see that success was right in front of him, but just as he was feeling complacent, the massive sacred hall suddenly trembled. Where the phantoms of the human race's predecessors stood shoulder to shoulder, dazzling violet gold light burst forth, dyeing the entire space with a heavy color. Chapter 2499. The purple gold light surged out, and the Yu clan's old emperor felt a huge impact. Then, a cold and loud voice pierced through the void, resounding in his ears and reverberating between heaven and earth. Since when did the Yu clan have the right to behave so atrociously in the divine temple of the human race? As the voice fell, the purple gold light slowly receded, and a slender figure appeared in the divine temple, standing side by side with the saint. A young man in his late 20s walked out, then took a step forward, and without any hesitation, threw a punch at his feet. Boom! A terrifying fist mark came down from the ground, hitting the blood-colored 8 trigrams that were fluctuating with a strange and ferocious aura. The fist mark quickly exploded, turning into runes that swept across the sky. The blood-colored 8 trigrams were torn apart, turning into a sky of blood that fell back onto the square. A hurricane suddenly rose, howling and dancing in the square in front of the divine temple. Countless humans, including the 7 great clans, were unable to resist because their cultivations were sealed and were all blown away. The people from the Yu clan's forces had to circulate their Xian Qi madly to stabilize their bodies. High up in the sky, the 8 trigrams pattern was also greatly shaken, sending out violent ripples. The bodies of the 8 saints of the Yu clan swayed, and they had no choice but to resist with all their might. The sacred weapons in their hands glowed, and energy continuously surged into the 8 trigrams pattern above their heads, trying their best to prevent it from breaking. The Yu clan's old emperor, who had mostly fused with the divine temple, was forcefully squeezed out by the shaking power. With one punch, the Yu clan's previous efforts were all for naught. If they wanted to refine the divine temple, they would have to start from scratch. Du Xiaofu. Yu Duanqing looked at the figure that appeared, and the imperial dragon qi around him surged. His eyes grew cold, and he wished he could kill him with his gaze. The young man's purple robes fluttered, and a pair of golden pong wings flapped behind him. He was like a god descending to the mortal world, proud of the world. Who else could this person be other than Du Xiaofu? Daring to ruin my Yu clan's grandmatter, Du Xiaofu, today, I will grind your bones to dust. The Yu clan's old king hatefully declared. Du Xiaofu stood in the air, looking at the Yu family's old emperor's hale and hearty face. He sneered and said, "Old thing, who doesn't know how to talk big? Come and kill me if you can. Who do you think you are? How dare you clamor in front of this old man?" The Yu clan old emperor regained his composure and coldly said. His giant-like figure completely separated from the sacred hall. Vast and mighty energy surged, causing his body to become even more solid. It was as if he was truly able to support the heavens and earth. "Since you jumped out to die, this old man will kill you first." Yu Duanqing waved his hand, and a huge palm slammed down from the sky. The bright radiance covered the giant hand. As it descended, the void rumbled and trembled. "Old man, have you forgotten that I'm the human sovereign?" Du Xiaofu roared, his voice shaking heaven and earth and echoing in all directions. "I'm the human sovereign, the human sovereign, the human sovereign." At this moment, the countless humans who had been blown away by this domineering voice finally came back to their senses and were incomparably excited. "It's him, Master. Rock Emperor. The Rock Emperor has returned. He has obtained the recognition of the human sovereign seal and is the new human sovereign of our human race. Our human race is saved. Rock Emperor, you must kill Yu Duanqing. Take back the sacred hall and save the lifeline of our human race." The Sun family's Sun Chong, Sun Qin, the Jiang family's Jiang Yiting, the Feng family's Feng Wanran, and Du Xiaofu's disciple Lin Feng were all excited. Even the Ji family and the Yao family, who had quite a bit of enmity with Du Xiaofu, were stirred up, their arms raised as they cheered. Du Xiaofu's sudden appearance allowed everyone to see a glimmer of hope. They placed all their hopes on him, hoping that he could defeat the Yu family and bring the human race out of this hopeless situation. Amidst the countless cheers, an indescribable charm rose from Du Xiaofu's heart. The powerful red-bone horse monkey's origin spirit was also strengthened by a strange energy, becoming even stronger. Du Xiaofu knew that this was the power of what the people yearned for. It was the power of faith born from the thoughts of tens of thousands of living beings. As the desolate country's Rock Emperor, he had also fused with the human sovereign seal and was extremely familiar with this power. Du Xiaofu didn't dare be careless as he watched the Yu family's old emperor's enormous palm strike. The violet gold celestial tower appeared in his hands as he gripped the hilt with both hands and shouted, "Sword splits 10,000ly." Terrifying energy poured out, accompanied by countless flying talismans and mysterious runes. They condensed into a vast sword light that cut through the void and collided with Yu Duanqing's palm strike. Boom! The two powerful forces entangled, tore, and collided with each other, sending out waves of energy that could destroy heaven and earth. A long rumble rang out as the violet gold celestial tower slashed open a terrifying fissure in the void. The sword light continued forward, cleaving a bottomless abyss in the distance that extended into the infinite distance. Du Xiaofu's azure spirit armor glowed with a lustrous luster, blocking all the aftershocks. The Yu family's old emperor took half a step back, his expression grave. The feeling this kid gave him was much stronger than when he was in the tomb of heaven and earth. Presumably, he must have obtained extraordinary benefits in that space. He had no choice but to treat this with caution. Little bastard, I swear I'm not human if I don't kill you today. The Yu family's old emperor roared. The Yu family has benefited from the human race, yet you've committed such despicable acts. You have the nerve to call yourselves human. Du Xiaofu retorted disdainfully, flapping his great pung wings and spreading golden light all around him. If you want to die, then I'll fulfill your wish. The Yu family's old emperor raised his hands into the air, his cultivation of perfect sage realm rising into the air. He shouted again, "Desolate diagram and blood trigram, rise!" With that, the 8 experts of the Yu clan in the sky moved with all their might. The sacred artifacts in their hands rippled with a vast amount of energy, surging towards the 8 trigrams diagram that exuded a vast aura, causing it to become even brighter than before. On the plaza, the river of blood roiled and quickly condensed into another blood-colored 8 trigram that rose into the air. 2 8-trigram diagrams, one vast and majestic, exuding an aura of righteousness. The other was treacherous and tyrannical, pulsing with murderous intent. One above and one below, they slowly closed in, trapping Du Xiaofu in the middle. 8 trigram and blood trigram, desolate diagram and sacrifice to the heavens. Suppress him. The Yu family's old emperor's eyes were like blazing suns, blazing with fierce killing intent. The desolate diagram and blood trigram was the Yu family's strongest technique. Using the blood of countless living beings as a sacrifice and the full power of 9 Sage Realm experts, it could create unparalleled power. If anyone wanted to break it with their own strength, it would be no different from a fantasy. Therefore, even if Du Xiaofu had the ability to reach the heavens, he wouldn't be able to escape the fate of being suppressed. Chapter 2500. Desolate Diagram Blood Trigram? What kind of talisman array is this? Du Xiaofu squinted his eyes. Even with his attainments in talisman arrays, he could not see the flaw in this desolate diagram blood trigram, unless it was like the punch from before, using force to break force. However, at that time, the energy of the 2 8 trigrams had been used on the predecessor sage's phantom to refine the sacred palace. His unexpected punch had caused the blood trigram to collapse. Now, all the power of the 2 8 trigrams was directly suppressing him. Du Xiaofu was in the middle of it, so the pressure he had to endure was naturally incomparable. Moreover, with the control of the Yu family's old emperor, the power of the 2 8 trigrams had increased tremendously. It was many times stronger than before. It would not be easy to use the same trick to break 10,000 spells with force. Rumble. At this moment, on the 2 8 trigrams diagrams, a grand aura and a vicious aura interweaved together, suffused with a terrifying killing intent. They were like 2 millstones that closed in on Du Xiaofu to crush him. The void rumbled, and the space between the millstones was crushed, forming a terrifying pitch-black void. The huge, sacred palace and the square were trembling non-stop, as if they were about to be crushed into powder by the pressure released by the 2 8 trigrams. The vast power was like Mount Tai pressing down on Du Xiaofu. Thunder martial vein. Rise? Du Xiaofu did not dare to hesitate. With a loud shout, golden light surged from his body, and the thunder martial vein broke out of his body. The thick thunderbolts were like coiling dragons, circling around Du Xiaofu's body. His body flickered in and out of view, making him look like a holy spirit standing in the air. At the same time, the purple-gold heavenly tower in his hand shone brightly. The 4 phantoms of the azure dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise appeared, standing in the 4 directions. The roars of dragons, tigers, birds, and turtles made the sky tremble. Emptiness between heaven and earth. The purple-gold heavenly tower slashed down, and a sword light rose into the sky. It was dazzling and outstanding. like a heavenly pillar that connected heaven and earth, and fiercely slashed down at the blood-colored 8 trigrams under his feet. Boom! Resplendent sword beams collided and a vast sound reverberated. Soon after, the energy was extinguished and turned into symbols that filled the sky. They swirled and danced in the air like dust. This included Du Xiaofu, the Yu clan's old emperor, the 8 saints, and the human experts who were blown out of the square by the wind. At this moment, they only felt their eardrums go numb and temporarily deafened. They couldn't hear anything, and the world seemed to have become peaceful. It was very strange. The tyrannical energy wreaked havoc, annihilating everything. Light surged and shot in all directions, scorching everyone's eyes. This energy storm lasted for a long time before gradually dissipating. Everything returned to normal on the spot. Du Xiaofu's sword was placed beside his feet, the golden light was retracted, and the lightning on his body was completely destroyed. His azure spirit armor had exploded, and a hideous wound appeared on his chest, with golden blood flowing out. The 2 8 trigrams above his head and below his feet were shaken off. Their brilliance dimmed a lot, but they didn't disintegrate. They were still fluctuating with a terrifying aura of righteousness and killing intent. Du Xiaofu's expression was grave. The power of the desolate diagram blood hexagram had exceeded his current understanding of the strength of cultivators. Not long ago, he had comprehended the emptiness of heaven and earth in the Beast King mountain range. He had directly cut off the head of the distant Sky Flame Phoenix clan's ancestor Feng San. But now, the same move couldn't cause any substantial damage to the 2 8 trigrams. How could he not be shocked? Sure enough, this was the strongest move of the Yu clan. With such a strong backing, it was no wonder that they dared to plot against the highest authority of the human race. Seeing Du Xiaofu's condition, the Yu clan's old emperor was also in disbelief. Even the phantoms of the human race's predecessors couldn't contend against the desolate diagram blood hexagram. This Du Xiaofu could actually crush the desolate diagram blood hexagram's combined attack and only suffer some minor injuries. This made the old emperor have a whole new level of respect for him. Rock Emperor, you must hold on. You must defeat that old bastard Yu Duanqing. The human race can only rely on you. In the distance, countless humans were silently praying in their hearts. Right now, this young man was their greatest hope. Little bastard, you must die today. A hateful voice came from the Yu clan's old emperor's throat, causing everyone to feel a chill in their hearts. The blazing imperial palace draconic chi swirled around his body and began to ripple once more. An invisible pulling force spread out and connected with the 2 8 trigrams, urging them to continue pressing down on Du Xiaofu. No matter what, for the sake of the Yu clan's grand plan, this brat had to be killed here today. With the old and new grudges added together, there was no room for negotiation between the two sides. Du Xiaofu didn't respond. He only moved his hands in the air, silently forming one complex and profound seal after another. As the seals were formed, an indescribable pressure gradually rose. It was as if the momentum of the world had descended in an instant, suppressing the origin spirits of everyone present. Resplendent light filled the air as lines intertwined and formed a grand and imposing 8 trigrams in the void, contrasting brilliantly with the Yu clan's desolate diagram and blood trigrams. Immediately after, the space of the 8 trigrams rumbled loudly. Heavenly lightning struck down, earth and fire rose into the sky, great rivers rose into the air, and mountains and lakes moved. Heavenly lightning absolute break. Heavenly fire dual person break. Earth pool Lu trigram break. Earth fire bright barbarian break. Du Xiaofu constantly shouted. Heavenly lightning stirred up earth and fire, great rivers coiled around mountains and lakes, and terrifying talisman patterns boiled like boiling water. They wreaked havoc in the space of the 8 trigrams as if they wanted to destroy the world. The desolate diagram and blood trigrams were also incomparably terrifying. Under the control of the Yu clan's old emperor, they continuously pressed down on Du Xiaofu, squeezing the vast energy fluctuations of the 8 trigrams until they made sizzling sounds. The 3 8 trigrams constantly collided in the air, causing endless energy to pour out. The Yu clan's experts on the square had long retreated to a distant place. No one dared to rashly stay there to die. As time passed, Du Xiaofu's 8 trigrams finally quieted down, revealing his sorry figure. The 8 Saint Realm experts of the Yu clan all spat out a mouthful of blood. The desolate diagram and blood trigrams almost couldn't be maintained. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Du Xiaofu's body suddenly glowed with golden light. A huge red-bone horse monkey's shadow occupied the void, its figure rapidly expanding. This was Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit. Under his control, it directly charged at the desolate diagram and blood trigrams above his head, instantly breaking through it. The desolate diagram and blood trigrams immediately dissipated. The 8 Saint Realm experts of the Yu clan could no longer hold on and fell from the sky one after another. Like dumplings being dropped into a pot, they suffered heavy injuries. The old Emperor Yu Duanqing also covered his chest and retreated. Obviously, he had suffered a heavy blow. Chapter 2501. Looking at Du Xiaofu, who had already escaped from the desolate map's 8 trigrams range, the Yu clan's old emperor was incomparably shocked. That brat's methods were endless, and he was really too evil. Even the Yu clan's strongest method could not trap him and was broken by him. This was really too shocking. Rock Emperor, good job. Kill that old bastard Yu Duanqing. As long as the crisis of the human race can be resolved, my Ji clan is willing to serve the Rock Emperor as our master. My Yao clan has offended the Rock Emperor before. After this matter, we will definitely ask for forgiveness from the Rock Emperor, and you can deal with us as you wish. Outside the square, countless experts of the human race spoke up. Kikik, you still dare to act so wantonly. Do you really think this little bastard can save you? Yu Duanqing laughed sinisterly and ordered the experts of the Yu clan. Continue to kill. Leave no one alive. Hearing this, the experts of the Yu clan raised their weapons and charged into the crowd again, wanting to start a new round of bloody slaughter. Those people's cultivations were all sealed, and they could not resist at all. Du Xiaofu's eyes darkened, and he was anxious in his heart. Relying on the uniqueness of the red-bone horse monkey's primordial spirit, he could break all formations and break free from the suppression of the desolate map's 8 trigrams. However, he only had his own strength now. Even if he could contend against the Yu clan's old emperor, he was powerless to help those human experts. Could it be that he could only watch as they were slaughtered one by one? Among those people, there were many old friends of the Lu clan, the Sun clan, and the Feng clan, such as Lu Limo, Lu Nimo, Sun Qin, Zhang Yiting, and his disciple Lin Feng. Du Xiaofu could not ignore them and let them be slaughtered by the Yu clan. Brat, you will definitely die today. The Yu clan's old emperor shouted. Before Yu Duanqing's voice fell, a loud and clear voice spread through the square. Do you think you can kill the son of Du Tingxian as you please? As soon as this voice fell, a long spear pierced through the void and directly pierced the chest of a Yu clan expert. Lightning exploded, and that person's body was directly blasted into pieces. He couldn't be more dead. Immediately after, a valiant and tall middle-aged man appeared. His aura was magnificent, and he rushed into the Yu family's formation. For a moment, blood and flesh flew everywhere, and the Yu family experts who were about to kill again fell to the ground one after another. Drunkard Dad. This scene made Du Xiaofu ecstatic. Just when he was at his most helpless, his drunkard father had come. But then, his heart sank again. The drunkard's father was brave, but he was indeed alone. Soon, he was besieged by countless experts of the Yu clan, and it was difficult for him to escape. Kikik. The Yu clan's old emperor laughed strangely. I was wondering who it was. So he's just a clown. What can he do? Really? The one who answered Yu Duanqing was the deep voice of a middle-aged man. A middle-aged man with thick eyebrows appeared. With a raise of his hand, the 6-wheel blood-killing array quickly attacked, rampaging through the Yu clan experts. After a few rounds, a large number of them were knocked down. Brother Qingchun. Du Xiaofu was ecstatic again. With the addition of the array child Zhen Qingchun, the pressure on his drunkard father was greatly reduced. Du Xiaofu's happy expression was still hanging on his face. Then, an even more exciting scene played out. Everyone saw the space in the distance silently burst open again, and different figures walked out from within. "Father, I'll help you deal with this thing." Little Xingxing's small body rushed over, and without saying a word, she directly charged at the Yu clan's old emperor, about to start a fight. "No rush, wait first." Du Xiaofu hurriedly pulled her back, his eyes burning as he looked into the distance. "How dare you take my brother's position as the human emperor? Do you think my barren country has no one?" Before the golden-robed youth Du Xiaoyao arrived, he shouted loudly. His voice shook the void, boundlessly domineering. "The Yu clan wants to touch this old man's grandson. Did the great golden-winged Pong clan agree?" Jialo Batian, Jialo Mola, Jialo Jueyu, Jialo Kaling, and the rest of the great golden-winged Pong clan walked out from the void, dragging a trail of golden light behind them. They did not hide their killing intent at all of the Yu clan. The barren country's 18 celestial guards are here to support the Rock Emperor. With a whoosh, another large group of figures appeared. The 18 celestial guards, led by Yi Piaoling, had arrived. The air seemed to be frozen by their cold aura. The arrival of so many experts caused the situation here to change quietly. Everyone in the Yu clan trembled in fear, and Yu Duanqing's expression became more and more unsightly. Which one of these experts wasn't a character who could hold their own? At this moment, they had all appeared at the same time to support Du Xiaofu. How could he remain calm? However, the following situation made the Yu clan's old emperor tremble even more. Half of his spine instantly turned cold. The barren country's guardian sacred envoy, the celestial beast hall's guardian sacred envoy. "We're here to support the Rock Emperor." The green fox old monster, Mo Tian Xiao, Dongfang Qingmu, Nether Demon, Yelu Han, Dugu Finchen, and the others had all arrived. They gathered outside the plaza, blocking the Yu clan's people and the countless human experts. "Who dares to oppose my master? Are you tired of living?" Lei Yang's cold voice echoed. The black ape, ground wolf, ice toad, ardent eagle, and flying fish followed behind, all of them exuding biting cold killing intent. "Brother, master, I'm here." Du Xiaojing and Lei Tianhuang arrived at almost the same time and directly surrounded Du Xiaofu. Seeing these people arrive, Du Xiaofu greeted them one by one, his heart filled with indescribable excitement. What he didn't expect was that all of this was far from over. There were still people coming. "Brother-in-law, the school of Yin-Yang is here to help you. The school of Confucianism is here to help the Grand Shaman. Ha ha ha, my Fong clan is also here to join in the fun. The school of Agriculture is here to help the Rock Emperor. The school of Moism is here to help the Rock Emperor. The school of Taoism is here to help the Rock Emperor. The Phoenix clan is here to help the Rock Emperor. Uncle Xiaofu, we're here. Du Xiaoba, Du Xiaolin, General, Ghostchild, Gu Xinyan, and the others had finally arrived after settling the matter of the Lin family village. The Beast Alliance is here to help the Rock Emperor. A young man with a head full of wild hair said. Beside him were Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger Du, Qi Yin, Jiao Li, Xiao Gu, Hu Pao, and the others. They originally had scruples about the relationship between the Beast Alliance and the human race, so they didn't plan to appear immediately. However, after arriving here, they realized that the situation was very different from what they had imagined. Thus, they changed their original intention and directly stood up to support Du Xiaofu. In the end, manly woman Ouyang Shuang also came. Even Zixin, Du Xiaohuang, Qing Wan, and Xiaoqing, who hadn't been seen for a long time, also appeared. Watching all of this happen in a daze, the Yu clan's elder emperor's face turned pale, as if he had aged dozens of years in an instant. In his heart, the thought of the situation is hopeless naturally sprouted in his mind. Chapter 2502. All of these experts were above the Saint Realm. Furthermore, the Golden-Winged Great Rock Clan, the School of Agriculture, the School of Mo, the School of Yin-Yang, and the Beast Alliance were all at the same level as the 7 great clans. However, the most terrifying ones were the people from the desolate country. The 18 heavenly guards, the desolate country's guardian sacred envoy, the heavenly beast hall's guardian sacred envoy, the Du family's people, and Du Xiaofu's several powerful demonic beast followers. All of these added up to more than 100 Saint Realm experts. It had to be said that this was too terrifying. So many experts, they're all the Rock Emperor's people. Ha ha ha. The human race is saved. The Yu family scoundrels will not be able to escape today. The Rock Emperor is mighty. The 7 great families and countless human clan experts whose cultivations had been sealed could not help but exclaim in excitement. Yu Duanqing's face was ashen. He had a clear understanding of the situation before him. His Yu family had relied on long-term planning and unexpected methods to control the 7 great clans. They had racked their brains to gain control of the divine temple. Now, if those people by Du Xiaofu's side attacked together, it would be enough to crush his Yu family 10 times over. Could it be that they were going to fail today? The Yu family's old emperor clenched his teeth, unwilling to give up. The Yu family's great plan of many years had been ruined by a little bastard like Du Xiaofu. Overflowing hatred instantly filled Yu Duanqing's mind and took over all of his rationality. 2 cold gazes at Du Xiaofu, carrying a terrifying blood-red color and endless murderous intent, condensed into 2 solid rays of light and shot out. However, Du Xiaofu did not care about this. He calmed his emotions and cupped his fists at the Golden-Winged Great Rock Clan, the School of Yin Yang, the School of Agriculture, the School of Agriculture, the School of Agriculture, and the Phoenix Clan. I'm indebted to all of you for your help today. I'll have to trouble all of you to let me know if you need me for anything. Rock Emperor, you're too kind. The other parties also returned the greeting, indicating that they would do their best. After that, Du Xiaofu didn't say anything else. His burning gaze swept over the Yu clan members. The situation was already completely under their control. No matter how the Yu family died, it was impossible for them to make any big waves. Old thing, what else does your Yu clan want to do? If I were you, I would just end my own life so that you don't have to struggle in your death throes and I don't have to kill you myself. Du Xiaofu sneered as he looked at the Yu clan's old emperor, who was on the verge of going berserk. Little bastard, even if I die, I won't let you off easily. Yu Duanqing was enraged. The imperial palace's vast and mighty draconic chi was completely withdrawn back into his body. In the blink of an eye, the Yu clan old emperor's body seemed to grow larger and more muscular. His face was flushed red as if blood was about to drip out. Du Xiaofu focused his gaze. He could see that this was a sign that the old emperor of the Yu clan was recovering his chi and blood. This old thing was going to fight with his life on the line. Let me see how a scum of the human race like you can still struggle in your death throes. Du Xiaofu was naturally fearless. He stomped his right foot in the air, and a terrifying golden light rushed out from his body, drowning his figure. The radiance of the sun in the sky was covered by this light. As soon as this light appeared, the sacred hall began to rumble and fluctuate with a vast aura. The originally dark building was now filled with boundless light. An endless pressure spread between heaven and earth, making the sacred hall seem to come alive. All the creatures present were forced to retreat by this powerful pressure. Even a consummate sage realm expert like the Yu clan's old emperor was no exception. The human emperor's seal. It's the human emperor's seal. The human experts cried out. Some of the weaker ones prostrated themselves on the spot and worshipped. Du Xiaofu's figure was wrapped in golden light. The vast imperial palace's draconic chi pervaded the air. It was as if a deity was in the sky. The light was so dazzling that mortals couldn't look directly at it. A sonorous and powerful voice came out of his mouth, shaking the surroundings. The Yu clan has brought chaos to the human race, vainly attempting to steal the sacred hall and blaspheming the pioneers of the human race. This is a grave crime that cannot be pardoned. Du Xiaofu's voice was loud and clear, reverberating in every corner of the world. Today, in the name of the human emperor, I bestow upon you the destruction of your entire clan. In the name of the human emperor, I bestow upon you the destruction of your entire clan. This vast voice carried the supreme majesty of the emperor. It shocked all the humans present, and their hearts were filled with reverence. People of the Sun clan greet the human emperor. People of the Feng clan greet the human emperor. People of the Jiang clan greet the human emperor. We greet the human emperor. After the experts of the 7 great clans knelt down one after another, all the humans who had been captured by the Yu clan willingly knelt on the ground and greeted the human emperor. In an instant, the uniform greeting shook the clouds, causing the sky to tremble. Those from the desolate country, the golden-winged great rocks, the Nong clan, and the Inyang school all trembled violently. They were subdued by this vast aura and were speechless for a long time. "Little bastard, hand over your life." Yu Duanqing roared furiously, and his body shot toward Du Xiaofu like a bolt of lightning. He calmly struck out with his palm, without the slightest bit of qi leaking out. It was like a palm strike from a mortal. However, facing such a palm strike, Du Xiaofu did not dare to be the slightest bit careless. "People of the Yu clan, kill them all without mercy." Du Xiaofu bellowed amidst the spreading golden light. At the same time, the human emperor's seal fluctuated with a vast aura. Golden dragons soared into the sky, twisting their huge dragon bodies like mountain ridges, rolling in the void. The vigorous golden dragons intertwined with each other, letting out waves of resounding dragon roars. Some dragon claws swept across the sky, some opened their huge mouths and pressed toward the Yu clan's old emperor. "Kill?" On the other side of the crowd, Du Tingxian saw that Du Xiaofu had already started fighting and shouted without hesitation. Then, he raised his long spear into the sky, and lightning rolled down from the sky, directly killing the Yu clan's experts. "How dare you go against my father, people of the Yu clan? You don't care about your lives." Little Xingxing waved his fist, and the mark between his eyebrows shone with a demonic light. With one strike, he smashed a Yu clan expert, blowing him into a bloody mist. "How dare you steal my brother's human emperor's position? You must be tired of living." Du Xiaoyao's handsome face was full of gloominess, and he quickly joined the battle. 18 celestial guards, follow me and kill." Yi Piaoling's long hair fluttered in the air, and her murderous aura burst forth. The 18 figures moved at the same time, attacking the 8 Yu clan saints above the temple. Then, Jialo Batian, Old Lady Jialo Maluo, Jialo Jueyu, Jialo Kaling, and the rest of the golden-winged rocks all moved. Old Monster Green Fox, Mo Tianxiao, Duga Finchen, Dongfang Qingmu, and the others were not willing to be left behind. "People of the school of Yin Yang, follow me and kill." "People of the school of Mo, follow me and kill." "People of the school of agriculture, follow me and kill." Chapter 2503. More than 100 Sage Realm experts attacked at the same time, causing the square in front of the divine palace to boil. Terrifying talisman runes swept out, fluctuating with dazzling brilliance and colors. Divine artifacts shattered the void one by one, and endless killing intent spread through every inch of space. The many human experts whose cultivations had been sealed did not dare to stay and watch the battle. They all ran outside as if they were escaping, but they could not outrun the power of the battle between the Sage Realm experts. When Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaohu, Qi Yin, Hu Pao, and the others saw this, they made a move one after another, using gentle force to wrap these people up and send them to an extremely far place. Only then did they avoid being caught in the crossfire. The human race and the Beast Alliance had a grudge that had been accumulated for thousands of years, and they viewed each other as mortal enemies. However, because of Du Xiaofu, the young experts of the Beast Alliance could not watch these people die in the aftermath of the energy waves. Standing in the distance and watching the battle in the Divine Palace, the faces of all the humans twitched with excitement and shock. The Yu clan's actions had almost caused the entire human race to be annihilated. Many experts had died under the Yu clan's massacre. If not for Du Xiaofu's timely appearance, even the people of the 7 great clans would not have been able to escape with their lives. At this moment, they wished they could charge into the Yu clan's formation and kill the enemy with their swords, cutting off the malignant tumor of the human race. However, their divine watchtowers were sealed, so they could not enter the battlefield. Moreover, there was no need for them to do anything. Du Xiaofu's helpers were truly ferocious, including the old emperor and the 8 experts. There were only about 10 people in the Yu clan who were above the Sage realm. The rest were only in the Martial Domain realm and the Martial Venerable realm. On Du Xiaofu's side, more than 100 Sage realm experts rushed forward and swept through with a crushing momentum, like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. The people of the Yu clan simply couldn't resist this kind of attack. Miserable shrieks rose and fell one after another. They couldn't even run for their lives. They could only stretch out their necks and wait to be killed. Everyone's hearts were filled with despair. Led by Yi Piaoling, the 18 guards of heavenly generals worked together. Wrapped in a biting cold murderous aura, they firmly restrained the 8 saints of the Yu family, preventing them from condensing their most powerful technique, the desolate blood trigram. Die, you little bastard! Above the sacred hall, the Yu clan old emperor angrily roared. A palm without any ripples of energy pierced through the layers of Imperial Palace draconic chi surrounding Du Xiaofu and arrived in front of him. This palm strike was plain and unadorned, as if it had been struck by a person without any cultivation. However, Du Xiaofu could sense that the Yu clan's old emperor's lifetime of cultivation was condensed within it, and it contained a terrifying destructive power. If he was hit by him, even if he didn't die, he would lose a layer of skin. Old thing, you've already said it many times, Du Xiaofu said, but he didn't have any intention of underestimating him. Profound qi poured out from the Imperial Palace in an instant and strengthened the mortal emperor's seal. The Imperial Palace draconic qi was like a rosy cloud, surging like a tide. Golden dragons shuttled back and forth in the waves. With a wave of Du Xiaofu's hand, the golden dragon appeared with a roar. A terrifying pressure crushed down like Mount Tai, pressing down on the head of the Yu clan's old emperor. Suppress! Du Xiaofu roared, and his palm fiercely slammed down. Vast energy flowed and poured out from the mortal emperor's seal, gradually condensing into a giant palm print that blotted out the sky and earth. It collided with the Yu clan old emperor's ordinary palm. Rumble! The world shook. The entire sacred hall shook violently, emitting a deafening sound. Terrifying energy swept through the sky and earth, and a black hole was blasted open in the void. An intense tearing force burst forth, as if it wanted to swallow everything. The broken talisman patterns were quickly swallowed. The Yu clan old emperor's body was slammed to the ground. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and the redness on his face quickly faded. The moment the two palms came into contact, the energy that had returned to his body was fiercely attacked, and it instantly dissipated. Then, the energy that had been restrained was instantly released, and it could no longer be condensed. In this exchange, his body had suffered great injuries. How could this be? The Yu clan old emperor clutched his chest and climbed up in a sorry state. He looked in disbelief at Du Xiaofu, who was still standing high in the sky and emitting a monstrous aura. His old face was filled with shock. He knew that the brat was very strong, but how could he be strong to this extent? Even the attack that he had condensed his entire life's cultivation couldn't stop him. Old thief, you can go die now. As these words came out of his mouth, his body flew high into the sky, separating himself from the human emperor's seal. Du Xiaofu's purple robes fluttered in the air, and his thunder martial vein released a terrifying lightning glow. He shouted, "Human Emperor's seal, suppress!" As his shout fell, the human emperor's seal's golden light rushed into the sky, suppressing the radiance of the scorching sun in the sky. Its aura became even more intense. Seeing the human emperor's seal with an unparalleled aura pressing down, the Yu clan old emperor gnashed his teeth. He couldn't wait to eat Du Xiaofu alive to vent the hatred in his heart. Good, good, good. This old man will perish together with you, you little bastard. Yu Duanqing burst out the word good 3 times in a row, and then his old body flew up. While he was still in the air, his body expanded endlessly, quickly turning into a ball and rushing toward the human emperor's seal. Xiaofu, be careful. That old thing is going to self-destruct. Seeing this, the sacred array Chiljan Qingchun immediately shouted, "Everyone, retreat quickly." There was no need for his reminder. The desolate country, the golden-winged great rocks, the Yinyang school, the Mo family, and the others had been paying attention to the battle between Du Xiaofu and the Yu clan old emperor. Seeing this scene, they immediately retreated, leaving the people of the Yu clan behind, and rushed into the distance. With the help of these people, countless human experts whose cultivation bases had been sealed had also gone to faraway places. One had to know that the Yu clan old emperor was a true saint perfection expert. If they were really swept by the power of his self-destruction, it was likely that no one present would be able to escape with their lives. Just as everyone was still retreating, they heard a boom from the direction of the sacred hall. Immediately after, it was as if the entire world had exploded, and circles of energy ripples rushed out in all directions. Within dozens of miles of the sacred hall, tens of thousands of mountains collapsed, and thousands of waves roared. Countless mountains turned into fine powder, and countless rivers evaporated in an instant. Although the people who were still in the air were very fast, they were still blown by the terrifying energy ripples. They were like a small boat in a storm, undulating and being wantonly ravaged. Those of the Yu clan who had not been killed were originally weaker in cultivation, and their speed of escape could not compare to the speed of the energy storm. The moment they were swept by it, their bodies seemed to be washed by terrifying lava. Their flesh and blood melted into skeletons in the blink of an eye, and the skeletons melted in the lava until not even a speck was left. The self-destruction of a saint perfection expert was incomparably terrifying. The tyrannical energy storm seemed to be able to destroy everything. It lasted for half an incense stick's worth of time before it slowly showed signs of dissipating. The desolate country, the golden-winged great rocks, the school of agriculture, the Mo family, the Phoenix clan, the young experts of the Beast Alliance, and countless people of the human clan finally dared to stop in the distance. Looking at all this in a daze, everyone was still in shock. Among them, some were even injured. Father! The little Qilin struggled to break free from Ouyang Shuang's embrace, spread its 4 hooves, and rushed back anxiously. Little Qilin, be careful. Ouyang Shuang called out softly and quickly followed. Until now, no one had seen Du Xiaofu come out. My brother-in-law will be fine, right? Qi Jiajun wiped the sweat on his forehead, and there was a trace of worry on his handsome face. I'll go take a look. Qi Yi's exquisite body spread out and flew in the direction of the sacred hall. Then, Sima Muhan, Dongli Qingqing, Du Xiaoqing, Du Xiaojing, Little Xingxing, Du Xiaohuang, and Du Xiaoba did not want to be left behind and rushed out one after another. Although they knew how powerful Du Xiaofu was, they still did not dare to let down their guard. Don't worry, I'm fine. At this moment, a faint voice came from the destroyed storm. Then, the purple-robed young man pushed away the smoke and dust that filled the sky, revealing his figure. When the Yu family's old emperor self-destructed, a powerful force erupted from the human emperor's seal and wrapped him into the sacred hall. Only then was he able to withstand the terrifying energy storm. When everyone saw this, they heaved a sigh of relief in unison, and then they all put on smiles. Father! Du Xiaolin cheered and threw himself into Du Xiaofu's arms. He rubbed his little head against Du Xiaofu's face intimately. Gently stroking the little Qilin with his palm, Du Xiaofu raised his smiling face and smiled at Ouyang Shuang. Then, he walked in the direction of everyone and asked, Is everyone all right? We're all fine, Du Tingxian said with a smile. Our human race's crisis has finally passed safely. In a strange space, a hale and hearty old man smiled slightly, and his eyes were as bright as the scorching sun. This kid is really incredible. Ha. The old man muttered to himself, and a vigorous golden dragon phantom lingered around him. At this moment, the space in front of the old man suddenly rippled like water ripples and spread out. Immediately after, an old woman stepped out of the void and stood in front of the old man. When the old man saw this, he was not surprised. He only said with a smile, You're here. The old woman returned a smile and said, Old man, do you want to see him too? Of course I want to see him. This kid is too extraordinary. The old man continued, This scene was caused by the two of us, but the two of us hid when the trouble was at its fiercest. Now, with that kid's intervention, the matter has the best result, so naturally, we have to come out and clean up the mess. When the old woman heard this, she laughed and said, "After that kid finds out, I'm afraid he'll turn hostile on the spot." The old man snorted and said, "Tisk, we're all about to be buried in the ground. Why would we be afraid of a little calf like him?" The old woman shook her head and lamented, "If it weren't for that kid, the matter between the human race and the beast alliance wouldn't have been settled so easily." The old woman did not answer. She only stretched out her hand and gently tore open the void, and her figure entered. "In that case, let's go see him together. If you want to beat or scold me, do as you please." The Divine Palace. The aftermath of the Yu family's old emperor's self-destruction had completely dissipated, and the majestic Divine Palace building was still standing. As an item left behind by the human race's predecessors, it was not damaged by the violent energy impact and still fluctuated with an ancient and mysterious aura. However, the huge square in front of the Divine Palace had become full of potholes, as if a divine ox had plowed through it. It was completely unrecognizable. At this moment, everyone was gathered in front of the Divine Palace. The Ji family, Sun family, Jiang family, Feng family, Ren family, Yao family, Di family, Lu family, and other human experts were all kneeling on the ground, looking at Du Xiaofu with eyes full of reverence. A middle-aged man stood beside Du Xiaofu. All of the humans present knew this person. He was the previous human emperor, who had been sealed in the Divine Palace by the Yu family's old emperor. After the Yu family's old emperor died, Du Xiaofu naturally rescued him as well. The Rock Emperor has eradicated the scourge of the human race, and it's truly a blessing for the human race. The Ji family has offended many people in the past and blasphemed the human emperor's dignity. Today, we are willing to accept the Rock Emperor's punishment without any complaints. Ji family's old ancestor Ji Tsang said loudly and bowed deeply to Du Xiaofu. The Yao family blasphemed the human emperor's dignity and is willing to accept punishment. The Yao family's old ancestor also said, "These two families had attacked Du Xiaoba and Du Xiaohuang in the burial wasteland in an attempt to seize the phoenix true egg. At that time, Du Xiaofu had ordered them to leave, but the two families were tempted by the treasure and clashed with him. In the end, Du Xiaofu killed the Ji family's old ancestor Jizhan, intimidating everyone and finally stopped. But now, in the moment of crisis for the entire human race, Du Xiaofu stepped forward bravely and turned the tide, shattering the Yu family's many years of planning and saving all the sealed human experts. At the same time, he also saved the entire human race. His great achievements were enough to be recorded in the history of the human race, and his achievements would be remembered for eternity. To the Ji family, Yao family, and the others, this result meant that they acknowledged Du Xiaofu as the human emperor from the bottom of their hearts. Moreover, the human emperor's seal had long acknowledged him. "I won't haggle over the past." Du Xiaofu smiled. Some things had to be done. No matter what the reason was, he would not abandon the human race. Moreover, Du Xiaofu knew that although the Ji family, Yao family, and many others had selfish motives, they were absolutely loyal to the human race. When the Yu family's old emperor forced them to surrender, none of them were pushovers. Even in the face of death, they did not say a single word. Du Xiaofu's gaze suddenly became distant, as if looking through the boundless void. He softly said, "The boundary outside the ancient, desolate, ominous grounds has disappeared. The human race and the Beast Alliance no longer have a barrier to protect themselves. From now on, this pure land will not be able to escape the blood and fire caused by the devil religion." Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the people from the outside world looked at each other, their expressions unsightly. This was especially true for the school of agriculture, school of Moism, Confucianism, Taoism, Yin-Yang, school of martial arts, and those who had experienced the primordial war. Their expressions were incomparably solemn. They all knew that the great calamity of the world was about to rise, and no one could stay out of it. Chapter 2504. Hearing Du Xiaofu mention the devil religion, the humans in the ancient wilderness pricked up their ears and listened carefully. These people did not know much about the great tribulation of heaven and earth. However, not long ago, many of them had seen the 9 demon emperors of the devil religion in the burial wasteland and knew how terrifying they were. At the same time, they had heard a little about the demon god. Du Xiaofu retracted his gaze from afar and looked at the countless humans below. He was extremely fierce. The ancient emperor once placed the hope of the human race on me. I did not agree at that time because I still had my barren country and my family and friends to take care of. I could not stay here alone. However, now that the ancient emperor has fallen, the ancient wilderness wasteland has merged with the outside world, and the human emperor's seal has acknowledged me. Then, the position of the human emperor is mine. As soon as he said that, the entire place fell silent. Du Xiaofu's eyes shone brightly. What he said next was powerful and domineering. The great tribulation of heaven and earth is coming. The devil religion is restless, and the demon god may fully recover at any time. In the face of a great enemy, I do not have the mood to waste my time on meaningless battles. As for the position of the human emperor, if anyone has any objections, speak with your fists. All the experts in the ancient wilderness wasteland were stunned for a long time when they heard that. Then, they prostrated themselves on the ground. No one dared to look up at Du Xiaofu's cold eyes. Then, Feng Wanran of the Feng family shouted, "We will follow the human emperor and face the great tribulation together. Anyone who betrays the human race will be killed by the world. We will follow the human emperor and face the great tribulation with no disloyalty. We will follow the human emperor and face the great tribulation with no disloyalty." All the humans spoke in unison. Their loud voices shook the void and spread to the 9 heavens, echoing in every corner of the ancient wilderness wasteland. Even the Beast Alliance area hundreds of thousands of miles away could hear it clearly. Countless demonic beasts were shocked by the voice. Du Xiaofu silently closed his eyes as he listened to the sound that was like the explosion of a mountain. At that moment, he felt the boundless power of faith converging on him through the human emperor's seal. It actually allowed his cultivation to improve slightly. It should be known that his cultivation was already at the sage perfection realm. It would be extremely difficult for him to take another step forward. But now, the malignant tumor that was the Yu family had been removed, and the hearts of the entire human race were united. The vast power of will that had been gathered was unimaginably powerful. Du Xiaofu was confident that in a place like the Holy Temple, even if the 9 great demon emperors of the devil religion came together, he wouldn't be afraid to fight. This is a law imprint. Just as Du Xiaofu was carefully sensing the boundless power of faith, he suddenly felt a slight throbbing in his primordial spirit. When he traveled through time and witnessed the primordial war, countless mysterious scenes appeared in his mind along the river of time. They were profound and vast, encompassing everything in the universe, explaining the cycle of the heavens and the order of the laws. In the end, these scenes condensed into a complicated and mysterious law imprint, leaving an indelible mark in his primordial spirit. Du Xiaofu knew that this law imprint must have been made by the Du family's ancestor, who had the body of the heavenly Tao. However, his strength was far from the level of his ancestor. Therefore, he couldn't pry into such a deep level of the laws of heaven and earth. "Ancestor, what exactly is the heavenly Tao?" Du Xiaofu murmured, filled with countless doubts. When his ancestor suppressed the demon god, he once said, "I am the heavenly Tao, and I shall protect all living things." These words made Du Xiaofu's heart and soul excited even to this day. Could it be? The legendary heavenly Tao is related to the power of will of all living things? Du Xiaofu guessed. He only knew that the heavenly Tao seemed to have given orders to the heavens, controlling all laws in the world and being the master of all living things. It was just that he was not sure how his ancestor did it in the primordial era. At this moment, the gathering of the power of will of the human race caused the law imprint in his primordial spirit to throb. Presumably, there was a definite connection between the two. After thinking for a long time, Du Xiaofu only felt that there were a lot of things to think about and had no idea where to start. He could only give up resentfully. Sighing deeply, he lamented in his heart, "All of this was limited by my insufficient cultivation." "Everyone, get up." Du Xiaofu waved his hand. A golden light surged out, emitting a gentle force and lifting up the bodies of the elders of the 7 major families in the lead of the crowd. Many of them were elders, and some of them even had good relationships with him. If not necessary, Du Xiaofu would definitely not put on airs in front of these people. "Thank you, human emperor." Patriarch Ji Tsang bowed and thanked with incomparable respect. The past grudges were originally his family's fault first. He was already greatly touched that Du Xiaofu did not show off his power and take revenge. Moreover, the Ji family was also considered a top family of the human race. How could they be disrespectful to the human emperor? Du Xiaofu retracted his aura and said to the leaders of the 7 major families with cupped fists, "Everyone is a senior, the cornerstone of the human race. In the future, I will have to rely on everyone. If human emperor has any orders, we will not refuse even if we have to die 10,000 times." J-Drop City Lord, Sun Family's Sun Tian said in a deep voice. The rest also expressed their positions one after another. Du Xiaofu nodded and said solemnly, "The great calamity of heaven and earth is coming. Only when all living things unite, as one can there be a glimmer of hope for survival. This process will definitely not be peaceful. It's very likely that I, and all of you will die." His gaze was cold and solemn as he continued, "I will have to trouble everyone to deal with the remnants of the Yu family. At this time, the entire human race will not allow anyone to stab us in the back. We might even become the devil religion's lackeys." The leaders of the major families nodded heavily to express their understanding. The spatial barrier of the ancient, desolate, fearsome grounds had already disappeared. Instead of thinking of staying out of harm's way, they might as well gather all their strength and fight the devil religion to the end. Also, the human race and the Beast Alliance have been fighting for so many years. I hope that all grudges can be resolved and that we will not continue to exhaust each other," Du Xiaofu said as he looked deeply at Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger Du, and Du Xiaolin, who was sleeping soundly in Ouyang Shuang's arms. The Beast Alliances by Fang Divine Bird Clan and Dark Heavenly Tiger Clan were deeply related to him. The Roaring Heavenly Lion and other beasts also respected Little Qilin, and he was the human emperor of the human race. If the human race and the Beast Alliance continued to view each other as mortal enemies, it would be unacceptable to Du Xiaofu. When the patriarchs of the Ji family, Sun family, Zhang family, Feng family, Ren family, Yao family, and the First family heard this, they looked at each other for a long time. It was obvious that their hatred for the Beast Alliance could not be erased in a short period of time. It was an enmity that had been accumulated from generation to generation. It was a battle between different races and was not an ordinary conflict. Du Xiaofu understood this, but he would not allow this to continue. As for the Beast Alliance, I will talk to the alliance leader of the Beast Alliance, clan leader Huang of the Baifeng Divine Bird Clan. Even if everyone has an obsession in their hearts, they should try to put it down slowly. After all, the demon god is the common enemy of all living beings in this world. Du Xiaofu's words made everyone fall into deep thought. The people from the Huang country, Emo family, Yinyang school, School of Farmer, Confucian, Taoist, and Phoenix clan all nodded their heads in agreement. No one understood the terror of the demon god better than them. The human experts also fell into deep thought as they carefully considered his words. Right at this moment, an aged female voice suddenly sounded from afar, and it carried a hint of a smile. "Little guy, I agree to your suggestion on behalf of Huang and the entire Beast Alliance." Countless people turned their heads in shock and saw an old lady staggering across the void. Her body was trembling, but her speed was extremely fast. Immediately after the old lady appeared, another old man with a hunched back walked out from the spatial crack. These 2 old men both looked like they had one foot in the grave. However, they exuded an aura that made people tremble. Even the patriarchs of the 7 big families were wary of them. "Sister." Seeing the old lady appear, Du Xiaoqing's elegant and beautiful face was first filled with disbelief and surprise. Then it turned into joy. However, the tears on her face kept falling. Du Xiaoqing's beautiful figure swayed slightly and was already beside the old lady. Her jade-like hands were held tightly in the old lady's palms. "Ancient Emperor." Looking at the stumbling old man, Some of the utmost powerful beings of the human race were astonished. Du Xiaofu was no exception. In an instant, the dozens of young experts and countless humans in the Beast Alliance were in an uproar. That old lady is the ancient ancestor of the Bai Fong Divine Bird Clan? Ancient Emperor. That's the ancient emperor of the human race. Why is the ancient emperor here? Hasn't he already passed away? Moreover, I heard that the ancient ancestor of the Bai Fong Divine Bird Clan has also passed away. Isn't that so? It's because of their passing that the Beast Alliance and the human race successively fell into chaos. Then, why are they here at the same time now? Countless experts discussed fervently with the same confusion in their hearts. The Beast Alliance and the human race had always been at odds. The two ancient ancestors were like fire and water and had fought against each other for their entire lives. At this moment, why were they walking together and looking extremely harmonious? Du Xiaofu was also very confused by such doubts. Before he came to the human race, clan leader Xie Huang had told him that because Xiaoqing's sister had come to the human race's divine temple to fight with the ancient emperor after the human emperor competition, the two ancient ancestors who were nearing the end of their lifespans had finally exhausted their vitality and passed away one after another. It was also because of that the remote Sky Flame Phoenix, 8-Drought Demon Dragon, Gulen Sky Condor, and other clans of the Beast Alliance, as well as the human race's Yu family, dared to rebel and attempt to take over the Beast Alliance and the human race. However, at this moment, when the Beast Alliance and the human race were in chaos, these two people actually appeared here at the same time, alive and well as if nothing had happened. Although the two of them looked like they were on the verge of death, Du Xiaofu knew that they were extremely powerful and were the pillars of the Beast Alliance and the human race respectively. Otherwise, the remote Sky Flame Phoenix clan, Yu family, and other forces with ulterior motives would not have immediately exposed their long-planned ambitions and rebelled as soon as they passed away. Greetings, seniors. Du Xiaofu did not dare to be arrogant in front of these two people. He immediately flew forward and bowed respectfully. No matter how confused he was, this was not the time to think about it. Haha, young man, you're not bad. The ancient emperor of the human race chuckled as he patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder with his old, bark-like palm. Xiaoqing's sister also narrowed her eyes and nodded slowly. Her eyes were filled with appreciation as she looked at Du Xiaofu. May I know if the two seniors? Du Xiaofu was about to say something, but he only managed to say half of it before he stuttered and couldn't continue. However, who were the ancient emperor of the human race and the ancient ancestor of the Bai Fong clan? They were old fellows who had lived for countless years. How could they not understand what this young man meant? The two of them looked at each other and grinned at the same time. Du Xiaofu was dumbfounded when he saw this. Let me say it. The old lady from the Bai Fong clan said with a smile, the two of us are indeed at the end of our lifespan and do not have much time left. However, we both know that there are some unstable factors in our respective clans. These scheming people have been waiting for us to die for a long time. Du Xiaofu nodded to show that he understood. These two ancient ancestor figures were still extremely terrifying even though they were at the end of their lifespan. They played a role in stabilizing the human race and the Beast Alliance. As long as they were alive, they would be able to suppress those scheming people so that they would not dare to make a move. They could only continue to hide. However, it was also because of this that after their deaths, the human race and the Beast Alliance broke out in turmoil almost simultaneously. Xiaoqing's sister continued with a stern expression on her old face. I have cultivated for countless years and have dedicated my life to the Beast Alliance. If I can't get rid of these scourges, how can I die in peace? As she said that, she looked at the ancient emperor of the human race and said, therefore, the two of us who have been fighting for our entire lives had the same tacit understanding. Before we die, we must get rid of the cancerous tumors in our clans. When he heard up to this point, Du Xiaofu finally understood, and he couldn't help but continue. So, the battle between the two of you during the competition for the mortal emperor was arranged, and it was done intentionally? The two seniors' deaths were also fake? The surrounding living beings were all stunned. Du Xiaofu's words were clear enough. It turned out that the two ancient ancestors were pretending to be dead and had arranged it. Their goal was to lure out the black sheep in their respective clans and make them jump up. Then, they would get rid of them once and for all to prevent future troubles. This was a process of scraping the bones and curing the poison. It would be very painful and might cause the Beast Alliance and the human race to suffer serious injuries. The final result was indeed so. However, for the future of the two clans, they had no choice but to do this. Only in this way would they be able to rest in peace after they truly died. However, there was an accident in the process. Because of Du Xiaofu's appearance, the Beast Alliance and the human race had jumped up and down. In the end, the two ancient ancestors did not even show their faces and the matter was resolved satisfactorily, not to mention making a move. At that thought, Du Xiaofu gritted his teeth and said something that sounded suspiciously like a scolding. The older, the wiser. Chapter 2505. I'm talking to you. Upon hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the old lady and the emperor of the ancients pointed at each other at the same time and chuckled. Why do I feel like I've been used? Du Xiaofu rubbed his nose, rolled his eyes, and said in dissatisfaction. He felt like he had been tricked by these two old fellows and had been used as a knife. Little guy, I didn't ask you to do anything. You were the one who jumped out. Little Qing's sister said as she looked at Du Xiaofu. The emperor of the ancients didn't reply, but his smiling expression showed that he agreed with the old lady. Du Xiaofu was speechless for a moment. His face was as red as a pig's liver, and it was as ugly as it could get. The living beings around them were also speechless. Those two were patriarch-level figures, and they were acting shamelessly in front of so many people. This was unbelievable. Ha ha ha, this kid is unhappy. The emperor of the ancients laughed. Du Xiaofu patted his chest and said righteously, Seniors, please speak with your conscience. I almost lost my fucking life, but you guys were hiding in the dark and enjoying the show. What he said was true. Back in the Beast Alliance, Du Xiaofu was facing the combined forces of Patriarch Feng San and Patriarch Cruel Zhan. After Patriarch Feng San seized the opportunity to tear Patriarch Cruel Zhan apart, his body was almost crushed by her powerful phoenix claws. If he hadn't comprehended vanity of heaven and earth at the last moment, he might have really died. At the Divine Temple, if it weren't for the Huang Nation, the great golden-winged rocks, the Mo family, and many other powerful cultivators from the outside world, Du Xiaofu would have had to fight a fierce battle against the Yu family by himself. In the end, Du Xiaofu aside, the 7 big families and the others definitely wouldn't have been able to escape unscathed. They wouldn't be as happy as they were now. Most importantly, during such a difficult process, the two ancestors actually didn't appear from the beginning to the end. Now that the storm had calmed down, the general situation had been set. The two of them ran out together and said, We didn't ask you to help us. You jumped out on your own. This was the source of Du Xiaofu's anger. All right, this is indeed my fault. The ancient emperor nodded and said, Actually, we just want to see how far you can go. The old woman nodded, indicating that it was indeed so. They had high hopes for the young man in front of them. They hoped that he could reach a higher level. Moreover, this kid did not disappoint in the end. How could Du Xiaofu not know what the two old foxes were thinking? But he did not delve into it. With a straight face, he said seriously, Seniors, you've watched the show. Since that's the case, give me some treasures as compensation. I don't need too many of them. 10,000 or 8,000 of each of them will be enough. The ancient ancestor of the Bai Fong clan was speechless. His calm state of mind, which had been settled for countless years, was stirred up. He had the urge to beat someone up. This kid really dared to ask for 10,000 or 8,000 of each sacred weapon and sacred medicine. The ancient emperor of the human race could not help but blow his beard. The guilt that had just risen in his heart towards Du Xiaofu also disappeared in an instant. I've already promised you. From today onwards, the grudges between the Beast Alliance and the human race will be written off. Isn't this compensation enough? Said the old woman. Du Xiaofu pondered for a moment and nodded. He did not really want any compensation. Perhaps the human race and the Beast Alliance really did have 10,000 or 8,000 sacred weapons and sacred medicine, but it was probably the deepest of their secrets. However, This did not conform to his usual style of taking advantage of every opportunity. Du Xiaofu turned to look at the ancient emperor and asked, "What do you think about this, senior?" Since the ancient emperor was still alive, if the human race and the beast alliance wanted to reach a reconciliation, they had to accept his opinion. Now, you're the human emperor of the human race. Everything is up to you. I'm just an old man who's about to die, so I won't meddle in the affairs of you youngsters," the ancient emperor said with a leisurely gaze. "Then it's settled," Du Xiaofu said softly. He suddenly felt a wave of sadness in his heart. The ancient emperor of the human race and the ancient ancestor of the Bai Fong clan had lived for countless years. They had sacrificed everything for their respective clans. At this point, he was truly on the verge of dying. Before they really died, they had put in a lot of effort to get rid of a huge threat. Even if Du Xiaofu did not appear, everything would still be under their control. Their actions were truly touching. The suppression between heaven and earth has completely disappeared. The cultivation of all living beings has greatly improved. Seniors, don't you have any way to extend your lifespan? Du Xiaofu asked hopefully. The two of them had exceedingly high cultivation and had long reached the peak of this world. If they could live a little longer, it would be of great help to the devil religion that was about to trigger a calamity. Haha, now that our time is up and we only have a few days left, we can no longer help you. I'm afraid we can only rely on you kids in the future, the ancient ancestor of the Bai Fong clan said. The ancient emperor of the human race nodded in agreement and said, "I've lived long enough. I'll pass away in a few days," but the ancient emperor suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky. The dragon aura of the imperial palace swirled around his body. Golden dragons soared into the sky and proudly raised their heads to show their unyielding spirit. At that moment, he seemed to have become countless years younger. His eyes were filled with the longing and yearning of a youngster. He said leisurely, "Before I pass away, I still want to take a look." The ancient emperor's aged gaze seemed to have pierced through the endless space and went to an unknown place. "You're about to die, yet you still want to go and take a look." When the ancient ancestor of the Bai Fong clan saw this, he was stunned for a moment before he laughed and scolded him. Then, his heartstrings were touched, and he could not help but become fascinated. He said, "If that's the case, I also want to take a look." Countless people were at a loss when they looked at the two of them. In particular, the living beings in the ancient wilderness fearsome grounds did not understand what they were talking about. However, Du Xiaofu's heart trembled violently. He knew that there were countless worlds outside of this world. The demon god, the master of the 3,000 great worlds, the dragon god, and the others all came from other worlds. Because of the primordial war, the suppression between heaven and earth had completely disappeared. This meant that the gate of the world could be opened again. As long as one's cultivation was strong enough, one could travel between worlds. The ancient emperor of the human race and the ancient ancestor of the Bai Fong clan wanted to travel between worlds before they died.